I call this meeting of the Kansas State University Student Senate to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
Hi, guys. All right, Adams. Here. Alberts. Here. Anders. Here. Arnaldi. Bergston. Here. Bowler. Here. Cafera. Dinez. Here. DeMoranville. Here. Dahl. Here. Elliott. Here. Flores. Here. Fuller. Here. Garcia. Here. Grandy. Harp. Here. Hendrickson. Here. Jewell. Kallenberger. Kelly. Klein. Maples. Markle. Martin. McDermott. McIntyre. Mertens. Meyer. Nichols. Nedry. Nordstrom. Ogren. Orth. Penny. Papoon. Pitts. Pruitt. Rostenpour. Tedrow. Thomas. Bless you. Tuttle. Valdez. Zwick. All right. Bothwell. Carpenter. Cruz. Dahl. Gammon. Grover. Hornung. Horton. Houghton. Jabin. Keekly. Karanja. Kellerman. King. McAdam. Malmberg. McCandless. Meinhardt. Pelton. Peckert. Putnam. Roth. Savarino. Shao. Chumlin. Wheeler. Whitmer. Witzke. Zeich.
All right, with that, we'll move into a first open period. Our first open period speaker is Carolyn Shanklin, Dean of the Graduate School.
Good evening, everyone. I will probably move around. I'm not one to stand by the podium. I'm going to try to keep my comments to within the 10 minutes, but what's most important to me is to be able to answer your questions. So I'm going to briefly give you an overview of the graduate school, what the graduate school does, our graduate students, and look at the relationship between the graduate school, Graduate Student Council, SGA, and our governing bodies, the Faculty Senate and the Graduate Council. K-State has had a long history of having graduate education. Our first graduate honorary degree was awarded in 1869, and we formally had our first master's degree approved by the state governing board at that time in 1886. The doctoral degree was approved by the Board of Regents in 1932, and master's art in 59. These are the types of degrees that we have at Kansas State University, and where are we located? If you need to find us, if you have ever been to the College of Arts and Sciences as an undergraduate until about a year ago, we're in their location. We're in Eisenhower Hall, first floor. But what's most important to us for our graduate students is we now have collaborative space on third floor for any graduate student to come and work together in groups, individuals. Our graduate teaching assistants across campus can reserve space to have private sessions with students. We did not have this previously until our relocation, so it's something that will benefit both undergraduate and graduates because they can work together on projects there. So that's where we're located. Prior to that, we were in a much smaller location and not a place for our graduate student council officers to even work, and that was when we were in Fairchild Hall. Other degrees, and why are these degrees important? Graduate degree now and the near future are anticipated to be the same as what a bachelor's degree is today. Those of you in the audience are going to have multiple career paths, and many of those require retraining, retooling, and that will be either through a graduate certificate or a graduate degree or a specialized training program that is post-baccalaureate. But at Kansas State University, we offer 74 masters, 39 doctoral, 4 EDDs, and 44 graduate certificate. These are offered on the Manhattan campus. That's where the majority of our degree programs are housed. We have a professional master's of technology at the K-State Polytechnic campus, a professional science master's at K-State Olathe, And we have many graduate online programs to reach students across the U.S. and the world that are offered. So we have multiple modalities of offering our graduate degrees. All of our colleges on main campus have multiple degrees that you can select from. What does a graduate school do? And how is it the same or different from the college that you have your academic home for your program? We do everything from recruitment to alumni relations. We partner with the graduate programs to recruit graduate students to K-State, just like the student Dr. Bosco's office does to recruit undergraduates to K-State. We admit students through the graduate school based upon recommendations of specific graduate programs, making sure that they meet the standards, not only the program, but also graduate school. Our most important responsibility from my perspective is trying to implement programs and services to help our graduate students be successful, including monitoring their academic success in programming, providing leadership and development workshops and professional development opportunities. And like many of your undergraduate colleges, we have a graduate school student ambassador program that provide opportunities for our students new students and prospective students to have campus tours to talk with them about their specific concerns and interest in their graduate program. Unlike many of the other universities in Kansas, Kansas State University has the best working relationship between our Graduate Student Council, the graduate student organization that represents all the graduate school, and the graduate school, because we are true partners in the activities that we do to enhance that graduate student experience. Many of them only have advisory councils for their graduate students, or they are totally separate and have no engagement. Some of the regional schools do not even have an advisory group to that. So we feel fortunate that we have a strong leadership team and multiple students involved, from chairing committees to our executive committee. Just like the undergraduate colleges, we do degree verification before the Faculty Senate approves the degree, and we issue their diplomas. And a fun day for all of us, a very busy one planning for, but we like to celebrate with our students at commencement. The graduate school commencement is the university-wide commencement where we not only hood the doctoral students and give the master's degrees, the diplomas to their master's students, but we also recognize the honorary doctorates, the university distinguished professors, and the distinguished grad faculty at that event. So it's a celebration for the university as well as the students who have worked hard to achieve their degree. And like all the other deans, I am responsible for alumni relations and attempt to fundraise. I can tell you it's much harder to fundraise when you're not affiliated directly with those students. So we've done a lot in the last 5 years to build alumni relations with individuals. And we have been successful in getting some scholarships for graduate students that we award through the graduate school. Others we've worked with other colleges, so when they get scholarships, it can be opportunity for graduate students to compete for them. What does our graduate student population look like? We're very diverse, as noted in here. 22% of the graduate students are international. 13.62% are multicultural, U.S. citizens or permanent residents, and 42% are U.S. citizens and permanent residents. So we have quite a diversity, as you can see, as you engage with graduate students in the laboratories or in the classroom. What do our graduate students do? Just like our population is diverse, graduate students are very diverse in what they have to do. They take classes just like undergraduates. They're also involved in teaching, whether it is as a graduate teaching assistant, teaching classes, taking care of recitations, or helping faculty members with updating their coursework. They also work in labs. Many of our undergraduate students are engaged in research experiences. They're working with graduate students and postdoc in those opportunities. So they're learning to be mentors to undergraduates for their future career. They participate in professional conferences. This is an expectation that they present their scholarly work, and it helps promote K-State to let others know what graduate programs that we have, as well as help those individuals to be prepared for those expectations as a professional, whether they go into academia, government positions, or other types of that. We also have students that are involved in practicum and internships, again, to enhance their experiences as a student. And we have a significant number of our graduate students who are also have children, and so they're trying to balance those activities. So they're different. How is graduate school and graduate student council, how do we work, and how does that link to SGA? First, the graduate school has, we are the main home of the graduate programs, but every graduate program has a graduate program director who is a liaison from an administrative perspective to the graduate school, and so they're an important link to us. The Graduate Student Council is, again, the student organization for all graduate students at Kansas State University. There is no membership charged. It's any student that's admitted are a part of that, and we communicate to them in weekly e-newsletters by the president of the Graduate Student Council. Our governing body for the graduate school is called the Graduate Council. It's composed of 43 elected graduate faculty from across the campus, and they're the ones that do many of the same things specific to graduate school that Faculty Senate does from a university perspective. Just like SGA works with the Faculty Senate and has representatives. We have two of our elective executive committees serve on the Graduate Council and are members of standing committees. So graduate students' input is provided just like you do to provide input for the whole student body to Faculty Senate on issues of importance to undergraduate and graduate students. And then Graduate Student Council, we have currently have 6 elected senators that represent graduate students on SGA, and also this year we have the first time a liaison between the executive committee of SGA, and that's been a very positive communication with us, because then there's good communication, so we understand the structure and things together. So we find it a wonderful relationship between what we do and what's available. Yes.
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend?
I move we extend the speaker's time by 10 minutes.
Okay.
If there are no objections, you've got 10 more minutes.
Okay, I'm just going to say, if you have questions about graduate school, didn't talk fast enough, about graduate school, please go to our website, check out the graduate student space there, and if you have any questions, all you have to do is email me, Shanklin, SHANKLIN, @ksu.edu, and I try to respond to emails within 24 hours from student or faculty, because that's who I'm here for. I'm an advocate for graduate students, whether it is on the Dean's Council or wherever I am. I'm always promoting graduate education, graduate student opportunities at K-State. Questions I can answer about our Graduate Student Council, SDA, or just why do we exist? We exist to make sure our graduate students have a great experience. Questions?
Any questions for Dean Shanklin?
Yes.
Dean Shanklin, thank you for coming. I was wondering, you kind of gave statistics on U.S. citizens and multicultural and everything for students in our grad programs, but how many of them come from out of state, and how many of them are Kansas residents? Do you have information on that?
Well, of course, all the international students come. About 48% of our students are Kansas residents because of the global campus that makes up about 28% of our students, because they're part-time, they're working professionals. And I would say of those, 90% are Kansas residents that are involved with global campus courses. They're programs that are here at K-State, but they're taking it through global. We do have some collaborative degree programs through the Great Plains and Great Plains IDEA, and those students come from all across the U.S. Some of our community development programs that's through the Great Plains, through Global Campus, actually has international students engaged in that program. And so about a fourth of their program is actually international students taking the programs here. Cool. So we have, again, most of the time you'll find in many fields, especially the STEM, that students are encouraged to go to other universities to get their experience to work in different types of laboratories. But I can tell you, I think K-State has some outstanding programs in some areas that we recruit, and I know I talked to a group of students yesterday who, some were K-State students, to let them know that we have great programs and would encourage them to stay here and look at our options as well as those competing options. Because right now, if you didn't know it, right now, just like med schools have deadlines for students to make decisions once they've got their offer. April 15th is a deadline that graduate students, if they have an assistantship offer or fellowship offer, have to make a decision. So you see seniors that are sort of like stressed and trying to make these tough decisions, it's because they have about 3 weeks to make a life-changing decision. But she's going to stay at K-State, I'm sure. But again, as I said, they're both.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And in case you didn't know, I've traveled with some of the students in this room to DC, and so I know a little about the fun that we can have and get to know those folks as well. Questions? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you talked about people coming to K-State for graduate school from industry. And what I was kind of wondering, do we have any like strategic corporate partnerships that companies send their best and brightest here to gain knowledge to bring back to the companies?
We actually have some that come here, but we also have some in the food systems, and we have Masters of Agribusiness. It's online, and many, like John Deere, all the key companies in Kansas and in Texas. They have the largest number of students from Kansas, Texas. So they come, they send their students here. It's a 2-year program, online program, and they then in turn often recruit other students to K-State. In the College of Engineering, most of their master's programs are online, and again, they're working professionals that then connect the faculty to opportunities to provide internships for undergraduate students as well as graduate students. So those programs do have good direct linkage. Some of our industries that are in the foundation building work with both undergraduate and graduate for those types of experiences here. We have some faculty that really do their collaborative research with industry, and so the graduate students and any undergraduates work with that. What we try to do in graduate school is let students know that, especially PhD in the past, has primarily been training those for being in higher education. Today, the trend is to provide them not only the research experience, but industry linkage experience while they're students, so that they have awareness and an opportunity to explore that type of career. Other questions? Good luck, and I know you are all anxious for 5 o'clock tomorrow to come so you can take off and have a great spring break. But again, anytime you have questions about opportunities at K-State, whether it's today or 5 years from now, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. Have a great meeting.
Thanks for coming tonight. All right, with that, we'll dive into our agenda for tonight. The first item of business is approval of the minutes, and the minutes were distributed. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Senator McIntyre.
I move we approve the minutes.
It is moved and seconded to approve the minutes. If there are no objections, the minutes will be approved. With that, we'll move into announcements. There's a short list of announcements included with the agenda. First announcement, just a friendly reminder if you didn't see the email, I just sent a updated agenda out, and we updated some things with Bill 77, so be sure to get that pulled up if you haven't. Also, we're looking at putting some training sessions together for incoming student senators and to help educate them about the role they can play on campus with their new position. So I'm currently looking for volunteers that are willing to help present this training. We're looking to do it right before Senate, so 6 to 7 p.m. Before the last 2 meetings of this term and before the first 2 meetings of the next term. So it'll be for the 4 Thursdays following spring break. So if you're interested, I guess I'll probably just take a hand raise right now to add to that list so you don't have to sign up. So, and if you're interested in being a part of that, raise your hand.
Jordan, gotcha. Yep, Ryan, gotcha. Awesome. Anybody else? Sweet. Awesome. I will be reaching out to you all either over spring break or as soon as it ends. We'll see. With that, the next announcement is what's your housing story? So there's a group of student leaders that are working on community solutions to affordable housing here in Manhattan. They're looking for student perspectives. So their event will be held on April 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. However, since that's during a student senate meeting, if you're planning on attending that meeting, you are able to email your story to Brianna Carrillo, and she'd be happy to take those and include those in the discussion that night. Also, Judicial Branch is looking for their next group of members, so I encourage you all to take a minute tonight, and if you've got someone in your mind who you're thinking might be a good addition to the Judicial Branch, go ahead and nominate them, and our Attorney General will reach out to give them the application. So, proxies tonight: Penny for Acres, Markle for Works, Valdez for Garrity, Andrus for Bickerud, Dinez for Hughes, Harp for Kidd, Martin for Hyen, Kallenberger for Meyer. And interns that are excused tonight are Rodriguez, Caramali, and Hoskinson. And our SGA member of the week this week goes to the Elections Commissioner Corbin Solachik and the members of the Student Tribunal. So. They all had a big couple weeks with Corbin handling the elections, and Student Tribunal had one hearing that went all the way until 2:30 a.m. So lots of good work there. Upcoming events calendar. In case you weren't aware, spring break is next week, but then after that, we'll get right back into the normal flow of things. Specifically looking at Tuesday again, Department of Kinesiology and the Personal Financial Planning Department will both be considered for a fee increase. So that's at 6 and 7 p.m., and then exec will be at 8 on the 27th. So our quote of the week this week is, "Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement," and that is from Helen Keller. So with that, we will move into approval of appointments. Is there a motion for Resolution 55? Intern Coordinator Jewel.
I move resolution 55.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to consider Resolution 55. Will the author please come forward?
I'm really dressed up for you guys tonight.
It's up there.
Okay. Okay, so Resolution 171855, approval of interim student senators by Senate Operations. Whereas Brooklyn Longer has chosen to resign the position of student senator in the College of Arts and Sciences. Whereas Connor Swanson and Lucas Renz have chosen to resign the positions of student senator in the College of Business. Whereas Anna Jackson has chosen to resign the position of student senator in College of Education. Whereas Jeffrey Bogner and Fred Oxler have chosen to resign this position of student senator in College of Engineering. Whereas Brittany Haynes has chosen to resign the position of student senator in College of Human Ecology. And whereas Nathan Bothwell, Katie Horton, I'm going to apologize, I'm going to mess these names up hardcore. So, Matt Zeke? Okay. Shelby Carpenter, Nicholas. Yep, that. Carson Tillman? I have no idea. Julia Picard. Our SGA interns and have been recommended by the intern coordinators to serve as interim student senators until a replacement student senator can be found or until the end of the term. Be it resolved that Section 1, Nathan Bothwell will be approved as the interim student senator for the College of Arts and Sciences. Section 2, Katie Horton and Matt Zeke be approved as interim student senators for the College of Business. Section 3, Shelby Carpenter be approved as interim student senator for the College of Education. Section 4, Nicholas and Carson be approved as interim student senators for the College of Engineering. And Section 5, Julia Picard be approved as interim student senators for the College of Human Ecology.
That was fun. All right. With that, are there any questions on Resolution 55?
Just
Any
clarification.
correction? Go
Can I
ahead.
make a clarification?
You bet.
With there only being a few weeks left and the trouble we had with filling these seats and the low number of voters we had the last couple of weeks, this is kind of why we decided to do this, is a part of the bylaws that interns can serve as interim student senators when we need them to. So that's kind of why these will be the people that do that for the remainder of the term, because nobody wanted to do it for just 2 weeks, really. So Annie and Hannah kind of helped us out with that.
All right. Are there any corrections to Resolution 55? Yes, sir.
Section 1, 3, and 5 say interim student senators, but there's only one person listed in each of those.
Yeah.
This is senator.
Good catch.
For sure, copied and
Soon-
pasted each line.
Yeah. Soon to be Senator Bothwell. There we go. All right. Any further corrections? If not, any questions? First right to debate. You kind of had yours.
We need votes.
All right. Any questions on the speaker's debate? Seeing none, any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Is there a motion to approve this unanimously? Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
I move we pass Resolution 55 unanimously.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to pass Resolution 55 unanimously. If there are no objections, Resolution 55 will be passed unanimously. With that, will our new senators come on up to the front? All right, at the end, say I will. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of student senator. Oh, sorry. Yep, good catch. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of student senator and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Kansas State University Student Governing Association. Awesome. Name, major, hometown, favorite smell.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Keckley. I'm a chemical engineer from Spring Hill, Kansas, and I like the smell of lavender.
My name is Nathan Bothwell. I'm a freshman from Tonganoxie, Kansas, political science pre-law, and my favorite smell is a bottle of vanilla.
I'm Carson Chumlin. I'm a freshman from Topeka, Kansas. I'm a chemical engineering major, and my favorite smell is the smell of Starbucks.
Hi, my name's Shelby Carpenter. I'm a junior from Wichita, Kansas, studying elementary education, and my favorite smell is like right after it rains, like the rain has stopped and it's quiet, and I can't beat it.
I'm Katie Horton. I'm from Overland Park, Kansas. I'm double majoring in marketing and sales, and my favorite smell is Christmas.
My name is Matt Zeik, not Zeke, it's Zeik. Just kidding. I'm a junior from Omaha, Nebraska, majoring in marketing, and my favorite smell is pumpkin.
All right, with that, our next item of business on the agenda is committee reports. Committee reports have been included with the agenda. Are there any questions on any of the committee reports in the agenda? If not, are there any chairs that would like to add to their committee report? Chair Neatery?
Yeah, so I always do this when we have a special request come through, just because it doesn't come through the Senate body, just to be transparent, but KSTB came forward for a special request to pull money from their reserves. So since we put money towards their reserve account, they have to come and request from the privilege fee to use it. It's to paint their tower and to get a couple of video cameras. Painting their tower just kind of has to happen. And they're currently borrowing video cameras from the library. So they want to have some of their own in the libraries coming in fresh. They have it checked out every single weekend. So the privilege fee unanimously approved that, but just wanted to be transparent that those funds will be moving. Also on the committee report, it says that we laid the increase in counseling services privilege fee on the table on committee. We just met tonight from 6 to 7, and then we'll be in final action the week after spring break, and then pass out favorably 8 to 3 to 0. So just an update on that. Thanks.
Any questions for Chair Neatery? If not, further committee reports? Chair Kelly?
right. This is kind of a non-traditional committee report. I just want to share a few of my thoughts as we kind of close the term regarding the special committee. First, I just kind of want to thank everybody that came to our committee meeting on Sunday. There are directors there, committee chairs there, senators there, and I really thought we had a really robust conversation about this bill moving forward. Faith, I know you were there. And then with that too, I want to express my sincere gratitude to every member on the special committee this year for really all their work they put in. This committee has not been a 1-hour meeting a week. It's really been a process, something that we do every single day, every single week, and I really appreciate all the work that they've done. With that, I just want to stand for any questions that you all might have regarding the bill that's going to final action tonight. Bill 77, right?
There's also time for questions when it comes up. So
that was the end of my report.
Sweet, awesome. Any questions on Chair Kelly's report? All right, further committee reports. Chair Andrus.
I just want to quickly remind everybody that legislation is due at 5 p.m. on Mondays. Please actually turn it in before then, because it's really frustrating for my committee and myself to have to then edit legislation that was turned in late, because we split it out among the group, and it's just a lot more difficult when it's not turned in on time, and you have all of spring break to get the next piece of legislation in, so there should not be a single piece of legislation that is late next time.
All right. Any questions for Chair Andrus? If not, any further committee reports? All right, the next item of business is director's reports. There are 3 director's reports included in the agenda this week. Are there any questions on any of the director's reports in the agenda? Are there any further directors you'd like to give a report? Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani.
Evening, guys. So I wanted to give everybody a little update on some of the work I've been doing this semester with the Diversity Program Committee, along with some members in SGA. So one of the things I tried to do this year for Diversity Program Committee was to find the best solutions and best way to make the Diversity Programming Committee more effective, making sure that the funds are, adequately distributed. And this morning there was an amazing meeting that we had amongst the CSI staff. The executive leadership team was there. So for those, if you guys want to chip in what was discussed, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to give everybody just a little history just so that everyone understands what DPC is and what it does. But pretty much DPC committee was formed by 2 multicultural students that used to be senators, and they had this vision that they believed that some of the dollars from the privilege fee should be given to host diversity events across campus. So it started off about $100,000, and then it went all the way up to $175,000, which is the current budget that we get. So the definition and purpose for DPC, I just pulled this out of the bylaws and what it says. So it's basically designed to just dissuade prejudice and discrimination based on all those different categories that we have listed over there. So that's what we try to aim to do, to make sure that these programs addresses some of those issues that we face on campus. And then we kind of use a 4-quarter fiscal year system, whereby organizations will have an opportunity to apply for funding during specific quarters throughout the fiscal year. So where does the budget come from? So the budget actually comes from the student activity fee department. That's where DPC gets its $175,000. And the makeup, as you guys can see, it's made up of 4 multicultural students, internationals, and other different minority groups that we identify with on campus. And all these positions are nominated by the director of that particular department. So at this point, everybody understand what DPC does? Yeah, we cool. So some of the issues we've had over the years with DPC, and I just went ahead to list some, were just as you guys can see, but some student organizations and staff and even people internally in SGA have said, in terms of the fairness of the allocation and disbursement of the funds, because, in DPC we don't have a cap on it. Some people find the 4 quarters in a fiscal year very confusing for a lot of student organizations, especially those that are, at a disadvantage. They don't have an advisor or don't have many members in them. Some people say there's some biases. And the big one as well is the efficiency of the funding, because all of us, especially last fall, we witnessed so many prejudice and discrimination acts that took on our campus that has me questioning, like, are we really making this money being used very efficiently? So those are just a few. So possible solutions that I've been working with my vice chair, Kylie Andrus, and talked to Bill and some other people. So some of the possible solutions. So you guys remember this chart when Adrian came in and talked about how he's restructuring the Office of Diversity. We thought that it would be really great under the director of the Multicultural Student Life to the right, that we could have the intercultural Leadership Council sort of like have the responsibility to allocate this funding, just for the sole reason it is going to be formed of different walks of diversity, from international, multicultural, LGBT, and all those different diversity walk backgrounds. So as you can see, moving to DPC under the Director of Multicultural Student Life. It will be overseen by the Intercultural Leadership Council. We will have some SGA representatives to make sure that things are put in place and making sure that there are checks and balances. And then it will be advised by the Director of the Multicultural Student Life. Once again, I want to remind everybody that these are just possible solutions. And then sort of like the benefits, we thought that the money is more efficient with the council with much broader, diverse thinking, because we met this morning with Adrian, and some of the work he's going to be trying to do, these individuals, not only would they be allocating funds, but they're going to be like advocates for diversity, not just saying they're the only group, but obviously there are many, but this group will have go through IDI training. We thought that the Office of Diversity would also raise some issues, saying that we need to address these issues on campus and actually intentionally get student organizations to participate.
Time for the speaker has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Chair Kelly.
May we extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes?
Second.
It's moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, you've got 5 more minutes.
Appreciate it. Also, we also have like more flexible for student organization to apply for funding. Also, it will provide more like professional support in planning and execution as well. And pretty much before I have any people with any questions, what I want to remind people is that if these are the possible solutions that we're looking at and we're still looking into, it will not be led by the Office of Diversity. It will still be in the hands of students to make those decisions, but it will be in a much more structured and sort of like making sure that SGA has some way to have checks and balance to make sure that this money is not misused. So at this point, I am ready to take questions, and I just want people's feedback, input, and I just want to know what you think, and if there's anything else you want to add to that, please send it my way, hit it up. So I stand for questions.
Questions for Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani. Chair Kelly.
You mentioned conversations that went on this morning between yourself and CSI staff and other SGA leadership. Could you talk about those conversations?
Yeah, so, and you get Olivia, if you want to jump in, you can chime in. But basically it was the CSI staff and also the entire, minus Jordan, but the entire leadership council, the executive leadership. And some of the things we talked about was like Adrian showed us how his intercultural leadership council will be formed. He was wanting to add the veteran student organization, a member from the veteran student organization to be part of that council. We also talked about what is intercultural student council going to be doing, and talking about the process of how the IDI section, so the intercultural learning section, how that will be able to sort of like branch out and connect to all these different areas, and just kind of like also talking about how we want to intentionally support those student organizations at a disadvantage, because if you and you served on DPC, you tend to see that those powerful student organizations, more like the multicultural students, they apply for this funding every year and they have an advantage because they know the process. This time we want to make sure that there's a fair opportunity and shot for people to have an opportunity to do that. And if Olivia and Bill want to jump in and talk about what else was discussed that I might have missed, I'll be jump in.
I think one other thing Adrian kind of touched on too with the Intercultural Leadership Council, with a move to DPC potentially if that happens, is kind of looking at a holistic view of our diversity programming events. So it's not like just feeding students to say, hey, like we want you guys to do this, so like here's where the money goes, but it's kind of providing that support of, oh, there's this type of heritage month going on, this group hasn't really reached out, let's talk to those students and see if they're interested, and we can help them navigate hosting an event or hosting something on campus. So that's one strength that I saw definitely that Adrian kind of provided today.
And it also push beyond just like race and ethnicity when we're allocating the funds too. It will push out for those other diversity groups out there too. Any other questions?
Further questions, Director Kuchera?
Will you be sending these slides out? Because I don't have, 15 seconds on a solution slide is not enough to maybe get feedback on an idea.
They can be up for people to access, and once again, if you got ideas, you can send them my way so that we can have a list to see what possible solutions we may have.
So what is your plan for this change or your timeline? What are you thinking?
You know, so myself and Bill and Ashley Douglas and Adrian will do like another visit to look at what possible changes that we might be looking at for legislation, and also we're probably looking at, hopefully before the end of, hopefully ideally I would love this to be passed on our last Senate meeting on April 5th. However, you know, we're making sure that we take the necessary steps to make sure that this is done properly, the right conversations have happened, and many of the questions will definitely be answered to make sure that people will be comfortable to make this happen.
Follow up.
3 weeks is an awfully short time for such a big change that hasn't been shared in a larger body. So maybe can you describe what outreach you've done or that you plan to do with students and supporting offices that would be affected by this change?
Absolutely. So outside of SGA, I've reached out to some of our multicultural students and also international students to sort of like talk and let them know that to look at this possible solution, and also ask them, obviously those who have complained and saying that they've had trouble with DPC, if this looks much more feasible and think it will get rid of a lot of the stress. And a lot of international students and multicultural and other forms of diversity, I haven't had much to reach like a much broader, of which I plan to continue doing that. But some of them said, you know, it'll be a lot more flexible. It'll sort of like, it'll actually get rid of some of the 4-quarter system so that students will have the leverage to be able to apply. So that's kind of like the work I've done. And I'll be over here for spring break, so I'll also get some work done, meeting with some groups if they're still around on campus.
Further questions, Senator Martin?
With this move, would the office that it moves under, would it potentially also contribute funds, or would those funds still come from the privilege?
So initially, we actually, I brought this attention to Dr. Bosco, and he was in support of this, and they did say that they'll be happy to contribute to put some funds into it as well.
Time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Chair Neary?
I'm going to extend the question time by 10 minutes.
Second. It is moved and seconded to extend the question time by 10 minutes. If there are no objections, we got 10 more minutes. Further questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually, from what I understood, is Dr. Bosco has a lot of interest, or that office has a lot of interest in working to match what the current fundraise to match what the current level of funding is for TPC. But the idea is still, since it's student voted and student allocated, it would still, I don't think right now necessarily it's looking to move away from 50, but that office is definitely wanting to match and work to fundraise
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Further questions? All right. If not, thank you very much.
Yeah, and once again, please feel free to send me ideas, or if you want to have a discussion, conversations. Yeah.
Sorry, caucus leader Rostenport.
Never mind. Sorry.
Further questions?
Chair Needry.
Chair Needry.
Can I speak? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's not a question. Also, Tendai's coming to the privilege fee the Monday after spring break, so if you want to hear more information, privilege fee will be talking about dollars and cents type stuff there.
Excellent.
Director Kuchera, is this a question or?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Go ahead.
Yeah. What's the best way to reach out to you? Is it email, phone number? What is it?
Email, text, Popeyes. You know, don't catch me cheating.
Further questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any
Appreciate
further
it.
director's reports? If there's no further director's reports.
Oh.
All right, Jack, come on up. You're not on break yet.
A couple quick things.
Sorry, Olivia was talking to me. All right, couple things going on. First of all, Board of Regents yesterday. There's not a meeting in April, so yesterday's meeting was a little long, but lots of good stuff happened there. One of which is a resolution that the Board of Regents passed. I'll read the text to you. It says, KBOR resolves that any prospective education investment by the Kansas legislature in K-12 must also include state support for technical colleges, community colleges, and universities. KBOR will not support any proposals that do not meet this requirement. So that's kind of a big deal that they have said that. It's also, they clarified it there, and when I gave my report, kind of talking about our amicus brief, I clarified it there. No, the Board of Regents is not suing the state. No, the student-body presidents are not suing the state. So if anybody asks you that, please help with that answer of no. So anyway, but I think that's a good move on their part, and they've been kind of ramping up their efforts kind of in their strength and the way that they're working with the legislature to say that higher ed's important too. And it's working, I think. So there is, and I'll talk a little more about this here in a second, but there's a subcommittee in the Senate Ways and Means Committee that actually voted to recommend 75% of the restoration of our fiscal year 16 funds. So that's 75% of $5 million. I still haven't been able to do the math in my head since we talked about it in cabinet an hour and a half ago. But if anybody has that math, that's a good number. So that's kind of what's going on there. Other thing with KBOR is the Council of Chief Diversity Officers. And so I thought it was interesting that Ryan or Senator Kelly stood up and talked, said so appreciative of his committee, and I want to give that same big thank you and that same kind of display of my appreciation for all that you've done this year for the Board of Regents Student Advisory Committee. Ryan single-handedly wrote this proposal, and the university presidents from across the board yesterday was like, "This is incredible! This is incredible! Who wrote this?" And any university president out there is currently a big fan of Ryan Kelly. So, okay, yeah, so that's good stuff. And it was very, yeah, so okay, clap for that. So thank you, Ryan, and on behalf of the students and also on behalf of the university CEOs, they say thank you for that. There's lots of good support. The current plan now, so we presented this, well supported and actually well supported to make a policy change on this issue. And what happened though is there's a question about have the each individual chief diversity officers looked at the proposal, and the answer was no, they haven't. We just had presented it. So they're going to take the month of March, the rest of March, and send that to the chief diversity officers. I think they're going to have a Skype meeting in April, since there's no Regents meeting in April. We can get it back to them then, but if not, it'll be voted on in May. And then if that goes well, which I assume it will, it'll be voted on in June by the board to become policy. So exciting stuff. I think that's really going to be a good thing for all of our institutions. Other stuff going on, the academic infrastructure support fee, which is something that we talked about a couple weeks ago. There was a survey sent out that closed into February, and we finally got those results back, and we are working on that. Now there's a group getting together tomorrow morning to look at those results, try to comb through that data, and figure out what we should prioritize. And the game plan is to figure out what our priorities are given that, and then send it down the line to facilities, work with facilities to see where their priorities are. For example, I think facilities are going to be making a big investment with educational building fund dollars. How can we best support that? How can we work together on that to make our investment the most effective? And so we'll be doing that, and then it'll go to TFSC for final approval here, hopefully before too long. Okay, 2 more things. One is the provost search. I'm appreciative of everybody who attended the SGA sessions and who attended the open forums or open fora in academia. So if you would please give your feedback on those. I think feedback is incredibly important. One, for the committee, and also some of the feedback I think will go straight to the president. Really important. I think I was telling cabinet this. If you heard something that struck you either in a good way or a bad way, both are important to share and feedback. So that feedback will close March 20th at 5 p.m. And I'll send out an email here in a couple minutes to with that link to it, because it's a little hard to find. And the link will take you to the page where you can see all the presentations and give your feedback. And like I said, that's due this coming Tuesday during spring break at 5 p.m. So please be sure to do that. It'll be critically helpful there. Finally, I talked to Lacey about this. Sounds like I can give this report on her behalf that the legislative review session tomorrow is canceled. There was one scheduled at noon. However, it is canceled. The next one will be Friday, March 30th. But I wanted to touch over these highlights. An update from the legislature. So,
time for the speakers expires. There
5 bullet points,
to
folks.
extend. Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani.
Move to extend the speaker's time by 7 minutes.
It is moved and seconded to extend by 7 minutes. If there are no objections, you got 7 more minutes.
Generous. I owe you one. So, first of all, the Senate, like I mentioned before, the Senate Higher Education Subcommittee recommended 75% of the restoration of the 2017 allotment. Both House and Senate will be working on appropriations bills next week. The legislature's school finance study is supposed to be released today, and it'll be posted on the government relations website. That's really important because that kind of goes back to what I've been talking about since January about how K-12 funding impacts higher ed. And so it'd be really important to take a look at those numbers, see what that means for us. The other thing is the free speech bill. So Senate Bill 340, which was seen to have pretty good support, actually did not pass today on a vote of 20 to 20. So it doesn't sound like there'll be any movement on that. There were some concerns about university protecting on harassment. So I don't know a whole lot about that. Just kind of something I had caught at the end of the day today and looking at Facebook, actually. Funny how that works. So anyway, thank you for sharing that, Dathan. That was all you. All right, questions?
Questions for President Ayers?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further director's reports? If not, we'll keep moving on with our agenda. The next item of business is approval of minor allocations. And we have 2 minor allocations to consider tonight. The first is from the Arnold Air Society, and they're requesting $200 to go to their national conclave. And the Travel Allocations Committee recommended them $200. And then in Bill 72, the Mechanical Contractors Association of America student chapter has requested $500 to go to their national convention. And the Travel Allocations Committee has recommended them $500. Are there any corrections on any of the minor allocations? Is there a motion to approve the minor allocations? Senator McIntyre?
We approve the minor allocations unanimously.
Can I take the unanimously off of there? Yeah. Sweet. It has been moved and seconded to approve the minor allocations. Is there any debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minor allocations, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. With that, the ayes have it, and the minor allocations are approved. We will move into final action on Bill 67. Will the author please come forward?
So I'm not
I'm not going to ask for bulk roll call on these two because they require two different vote totals in order to pass, and so it's better if we do these one at a time. There have been no changes to Bill 67 since last week.
With that, did you want first right to debate? Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, take it away.
Thanks. Once again, 67 is specifically just changing the name of the person who serves on this. The bylaws currently says president or their designee. The Constitution does not allow for that flexibility. So by rebranding this position as the GSC SGA liaison offers that flexibility. Yeah, if you have more questions on this or like want me to go more in depth, just let me know. But please allow this additional flexibility.
All right. With that, are there any questions on Director Kuchera's debate? All right, seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? If not, we'll go into a roll call vote on Bill 67.
Sorry. Okay. Adams?
Yes.
Akers?
Yes, by proxy.
Alberts?
Yes.
Anders?
Yes.
Arnaldi? Bergston?
Yes.
Bowler?
Yes.
Bickerud?
Yes, by proxy.
Cafera? Dinez?
Yes.
DeMoranville?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Garrity?
Yes, by proxy.
Grandy? Harp?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes, by proxy.
Hughes?
Yes, by proxy.
Jewell?
Yes.
Kallenberger?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Kidd?
Yes, by proxy.
Klein?
Yes.
Maples? Markle? Martin?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Mertens? Meyer?
Yes, by proxy.
Nichols? Nedry?
Yes.
Nordstrom?
Yes.
Ogren?
Yes.
Orth?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Papoon?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Pruitt?
Yes.
Rostenpour?
Yes.
Tedrow?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Valdez?
Yes.
Works? Zwick?
Yes.
Sorry. All right.
Did we happen to catch the newly sworn in?
Oh, no, we didn't. Okay, so Bothwell?
Yes.
They're in line.
Where?
Right there. Sorry, it's grayed out.
Oh. Okay, so Zwick was yes.
Oh, this is on 67.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I'm used to ignoring the blacked out ones. Bothwell, so you were a yes. Carpenter?
Yes.
Eberhardy? Or which Archer?
Sorry.
Who's all sworn in?
You can skip
Sorry.
those. You can skip those. Sorry.
There's a lot. Hands.
It'd be whoever has a gray line that's not there. So Keekly.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Sweet. Right there.
Where? Peckert?
She's not here.
Okay. Chumlin?
Yes.
Zyke?
Did we get them all? Sorry. Katie Horton, right?
Horton?
Yeah, Horton.
Okay. Horton. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Did we miss anybody else? No? All right. Sorry about that.
All right.
Do you want me to say what the
Yep,
thing?
what's the vote?
Okay. 41-0.
40.
46.
46 is what you got?
I got 46 or 47.
I say I think we should be more than 41.
It's more than 42.
Oh. Okay. Hold on.
There we go.
Okay, we're all fixed now.
All right. With that, it passes by a vote of 46 to 0 to 0. Sorry, that was my mistake. I updated the roll call sheet. Caitlin and I hadn't had a chance to sync up on that real quick. So with that, we'll move into consideration of Bill 58. Will the author please come forward? Any corrections?
The only change is Marcus Kidd last week said he wanted to be added as an author to this.
All right, we'll get that added. And were there any questions on any of the corrections? If not, first right to debate.
So 58, I described what the main change was last week, but I'll briefly go over it. This allows the flexibility of the most important thing that this change does is it gets everybody working together very early on during the year. It gets the graduate student president, the student body president, and the graduate student senator caucus leader. It gets them talking very early on to appoint and to approve who this GSC SGA liaison is. One of the biggest strengths of having the student body president and student body vice president identify this person through their search and then go to those two individuals for approval and consideration of those applicants is because the student body president application has quite a large reach into the university and can maybe bring in some new applicants to the position. The most important thing through this whole process and all the great meetings we've had has been trying to make sure that we have a graduate student in the room and the conversations that we have around cabinet. We have about 3,855 graduate students, and a lot of the issues that we talk about in this body in here deal a lot with undergraduates. And so it's important when those issues do come up that it's important that we have graduate student representation as a check in each of our conversations saying, okay, while we're thinking about all these great things that usually impact other undergraduate students, let's also consider how this impacts graduate students, and let's also identify new projects we can work on to address challenges that graduate students face. So it gets everyone talking early on, and it hopefully helps alleviate this massive communication gap that's been in between the different branches when it comes to graduate student representation and in between student government and graduate student council. So I'm more than happy to talk about anything you want to, but I just don't want to stand up here and talk. So what questions do you have?
Questions for Director Kuchera? Seeing none, is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? If not, we'll go into a roll call vote on Bill 58.
All right, let's try this again. Adams.
Yes.
Akers. Alberts.
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Arnaldi. Bergson.
Yes.
Bowler.
Yes.
Bothwell.
Yes.
Bickerud.
Yes, by proxy.
Cafera. Carpenter.
Yes.
Dines.
Yes.
DeMoranville.
Yes.
Dahl.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Flores.
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Garrity. Grandy. Harp.
Yes.
Hendrickson.
Yes.
Hyen.
Yes, by proxy.
Horton.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes, by proxy.
Jewel. Jewel. Keekly.
Yes.
Kallenberger.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Kidd.
Yes, by proxy.
Klein.
Yes.
Maples. Markle.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
McIntyre.
Yes.
Mertens. Meyer.
Yes, by proxy.
Nichols. Nadry.
Yes.
Nordstrom.
Yes.
Ogren.
Yes.
Orth.
Yes.
Peckert. Penny.
Yes.
Papoon.
Yes.
Pitts.
Yes.
Pruitt.
Yes.
Rostenpour.
Yes.
Tedrow. Chumlin.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Tuttle.
Yes.
Valdez.
Yes.
Works.
Yes.
Zyke.
Yes.
Zwick.
Yes.
Cool.
Akers and Garrity's proxies. Jansen?
Yes, by proxy.
For Akers.
Yeah.
And then
One.
Garrity?
One job.
Victor? Yes, by proxy? Sweet.
One job.
All right. And the vote on that is?
Who do you have? Victor?
Is Garrity.
Okay. Okay, 49 to 0 to 0.
All right, there we go. We'll keep moving on. Next is Bill 74. Will the author please come forward?
No changes have been made.
First back to debate.
Yeah, so just so we can go over it again, that's not the right one. Okay. We're having to pull from reserves because of the enrollment decline. As you can see in the second whereas clause, this reserve account is exactly for this kind of issue. As far as I've been here, we haven't had to do this, so it's not a recurring thing. For those that are worried about the future having to pull from this account, next year we shouldn't have to pull from it unless we have more than a 3% decline in enrollment again. So in the privilege fee budgeting process, they always account for a possible 3% decrease in enrollment. This year it just happened to be more than that. I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Chair Neadery? Any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Any further debate at all?
It was more a question. Do we need to list that number, the $344,000 in a section?
So the reason that it's not listed in a section is because we don't have exact summer enrollments. But by the end of the fiscal year, we're gonna have to have that money. So there's just no way for student senate to be able to do that. That's why we have that section that says it will not exceed the amount that's needed for our current privilege fee budget allocation. So that section 2 covers them not pulling more than they should.
Further questions? If not, is there any further debate? If there's no further debate, we'll proceed into a roll call vote on Bill 74.
Adams?
Yes.
Akers?
Yes, by proxy.
Albert?
Yes.
Anders?
Yes.
Arnaldi? Bergston?
Yes.
Bowler?
Yes.
Bothwell?
Yes.
Bickerud?
Yes, by proxy.
Cafera? Carpenter?
Yes.
Dinez?
Yes.
DeMoranville?
Yes.
Dahl?
Yes.
Elliott?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Fuller?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Garrity?
Yes, by proxy.
Grandy? Harp?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
Yes.
Hyen?
Yes, by proxy.
Horton?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes, by proxy.
Jewell?
Yes.
Keekly?
Yes.
Kallenberger?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Kidd?
Yes, by proxy.
Klein?
Yes.
Maples? Markle?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
McDermott?
Yes.
McIntyre?
Yes.
Mertens? Meyer?
Yes, by proxy.
Nichols? Needry?
Yes.
Nordstrom?
Yes.
Ogren?
Yes.
Orth?
Yes.
Peckert? Penny?
Yes.
Papoon?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Pruitt?
Yes.
Rostenpour?
Yes.
Tedrow?
Yes.
Chumlin?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Tuttle?
Yes.
Valdez?
Yes.
Works?
Yes.
Zyke?
Yes.
Zwick? Zwick? Oh, she is. Okay. All right, 48 to 0 to 0.
All right, with that, we'll move into Bill 75. Will the author please come forward? Senator Penny.
I move we both roll call Bill 75 and 76.
It is moved and seconded to bulk roll call Bills 75 and 76. If there are no objections, they will be bulk roll called.
Awesome. Hold on. I think the only changes that have been made is like KSU, SGA, and KSA using the right acronyms. Whatever we corrected here last week.
All right. Any questions on the corrections? If not, first back to debate.
Awesome. So just for a little history for the newer people in the room,
This athletics termination has been a conversation, I believe, since my freshman year, 2 years ago on campus. That we used to give them about $500,000. And when Garrett Kays was the Privilege Fee Committee chair, he worked with other leaders in SGA to give them a step-down model of slowly giving them less and less funding. So just so that you have a little background. What we did this year was we asked that we don't give they were on a step down for next year, but we asked that go to zero faster just because of that enrollment decline, so that although the privilege fee is having to increase, it will be increased less because we're saving $200,000. So I'll get into the details of the new agreement when we have our next one, but that's a little history on why they're currently going down in funding.
Any questions for Chair Neadery? If not, is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? If not, will the author of Bill 76 please come forward?
Awesome. Sorry, if someone wanted to debate in the negative, I wanted to give them space. Okay, so the athletics creation. I just want to step through everything so that people are aware of what they're actually voting on. So when this agreement came about because when we wanted the termination, we didn't want to just leave athletics off the table, no like good collaboration between the two. So this is what we came forward with. There's no money allocation. It'll probably come to the Priv fee just because of the history of it. But this way everyone gets sat back down at the table. So if you look at the section regarding football, it says that we will have sections 24 through 27. 28 would no longer be allocated to students this year. Just trying to be transparent as possible with this agreement for you guys. With our current attendance, this doesn't affect that. It's not that less students are going to be able to be in the stadium. We have all the numbers. They presented all of them to us. We're just not attending games, especially in the second half. So if we were to start filling up all those sections all the time, then obviously this agreement would be back on the table and we'd be talking about getting more seats for students. If you go to the basketball section, we now have sections 19 through 23. Except for the KU game, they put that exception in there for us since we're always selling out that game because of the rivalry. So on those games, 24 and 25 will be opened back up for students. On the part that it says the number of tickets sold, that's just a slight increase from the years before to try to get more people coming to the games. The sections about school not in session, obviously when we're not in session, we're not attending those games as much. So trying to get more people in the stadium, in the crowd, so that when ESPN goes across, it doesn't look like no one's at the game. So again, our current attendance, those numbers, we looked at them with the numbers that they presented in this. We're not going to have issues with students not having seats at this point. If there was, obviously we would sit back down at the table. There's a section about all the different ways this agreement can terminate. Some people had some concerns with that. I think that's a really positive thing. I think it gets us sitting down at the table more and more with athletics so that we continue that great relationship that we have. I'm assuming future cabinets will have an athletics liaison, but if they don't, all of these reasons are reasons for us to sit back down collaboratively. And section 1, number 2, so the last kind of change in this, people were asking about capital improvement projects. One of those examples is we worked with athletics in getting the tennis courts put in, so they just wanted something written in there saying, we don't have, a money transaction exchange with people anymore, but we still want to work on projects that students, feel strongly about. The students felt that we needed tennis courts. We worked with athletics and other funding opportunities to get that passed. So they just wanted that in writing that we're willing to keep working with them on other capital improvement projects. I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Chair Neadery? If not, is there any debate in the negative? Debate in the positive? President Ayers.
Alrighty, so I just want to give a couple quick thoughts on this, which I know nobody believes when I say something. I'm going to do something quickly, but 4 reasons why I think you should vote yes on this agreement, these 2 bills. 1, we need money. So I think that $340,000 shortfall that's a scary thing. I think that to eliminate $200,000 of that is a good move, especially in terms of the overall impact that that would have to KSA's budget. I think you know, look at that. I don't have the budget card anymore, but I used to, and it's, you know, just think about how small in the grand scheme of things for athletics $200,000 is, whereas how large that is for our problem. So that's kind of a context I think that's important to think about. Second, I think we need to rethink the relationship, kind of going back to that point about you know, it's I don't think that SGA is keeping the lights on at Veneer Stadium, right? So what it does though is it has given us this it's a contractual relationship that we've existed in where we have a seat at the table, it's guaranteed, and they, you know, will call us whenever they want to sell tickets. So for example, over winter break, they sent me an email and said, hey, we want to sell student tickets to Fort Riley Soldiers and Families. Is that okay with you? I said yes. You know, so it's totally transactional, something that we would always support and that we had talked about beforehand. So I think that we need to rethink the relationship that goes beyond contractual, you know, $200,000 a year, that goes into something like what Sarah was talking about with a capital improvement. Or, you know, capital projects, something like, you know, like we have done tennis courts. Maybe there's work that can be done to improve the student experience. I don't know what that looks like yet. I know some universities have a student club. Maybe that's something we're interested in. I don't know. I'm not necessarily advocating for anything like that now. 3, we need to increase attendance, and I think that is, you know, there's a lot of different factors that contribute to that. And I think that athletics plays I think that we play just as much of a role as athletics in that regard, and that'd be something that I think we can probably be working on as well to do that, because that would also change kind of the game that we're looking at now in regards to how many open spaces. Like Sarah said, when ESPN comes and when they scan the stadium, athletics does not like the look that it gives us when we don't have people in the seats, or when we have, you know, alumni that are looking across the stadium. Like, I'm up here paying a lot of money for a seat that I could have had down there that a student's not occupying. So that's, I think, a problem that we can continue to work on. And then finally, it sounds distrusting. I don't mean for it to, but we've talked about this with President Myers and Dr. Bosco, and both of them had kind of expressed some sentiment that I think is important to note, that although we're eliminating a contractual relationship that guarantees that SGA has a seat at the table, I don't foresee SGA losing any type of influence in that regard. I think that's the way that our program is set up. We are a patron of athletics. We give them, you know, provide for funding, either in terms of purchasing tickets, or I think indirectly, if parents want to come see their students, things like that. I think there's a lot of ways in which students uniquely help athletics that goes beyond this agreement, and I think that we have a lot of support both from athletics and from administration as a whole to continue the amount of influence and the seat at the table that SGA has established with athletics. So please vote yes. Any questions?
Questions for President Ayers? Seeing none, any debate in the negative?
Don't have to debate the negative. Sorry. Can I offer a friendly amendment?
Sure.
On the very beginning of section 1, where it says this blank day of May, can you change it to the 15th day of March? Thank you.
All right. Is there any further debate? If there's no further debate, we'll proceed into a both roll call vote on bills 75 and 76.
All right, Adams,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes to vote by proxy.
Alberts,
Yes, all.
Anders,
Yes, both.
Arnaldi, Bergston,
Yes to both.
Bowler,
Yes all.
Bothwell,
Yes to all.
Bickerud,
Yes to all by proxy.
Cafera, Carpenter,
Yes to all.
Dinez,
Yes to both.
DeMoranville,
Yes to all.
Dahl,
Yes to all.
Elliott, Flores,
Yes to all.
Fuller,
Yes to all.
Garcia,
Yes to all.
Garrity,
Yes to all by proxy.
Grandy, Harp,
Yes to all.
Hendrickson,
Yes to all.
Hyen,
Yes to all by proxy.
Horton,
Yes to all.
Hughes,
Yes to both by proxy.
Jewell,
Yes to all.
Keekly,
Yes to all.
Kallenberger,
Yes to all.
Kelly,
Yes to all.
Kidd,
Yes to all by proxy.
Klein,
Yes to all.
bless you. Maples? Markle?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes to all.
McDermott?
Yes to all.
McIntyre?
Yes to all.
Mertens? Meyer?
Yes to all by proxy.
Nichols? Nedry?
Yes to all.
Nordstrom?
Yes to all.
Ogren?
Yes to all.
Orth?
Yes
Peckert? Penny?
Yes to all.
Capoon?
Yes to all.
Pitts?
Yes to all.
Pruitt?
Yes to all.
Rostenpour?
Yes to all.
Tedrow?
Yes to all.
Chumlin?
Yes to all.
Thomas?
Yes to all.
Tuttle?
Yes to all.
Valdez?
Yes to all.
Works?
Yes to all.
Zyke?
Yes to all.
Swick?
Yes to all.
All right, 49 to 0-0.
All right. Will the author of Bill 77 please come forward? Any corrections?
Yeah, so the updated Senate agenda was just sent out. That has the current version of the bill. Really, in those are just a couple changes regarding the whereas clauses, really just wording things. But specifically, I want to highlight the last one, which is lines 51 to 53. Bless you. They kind of speak to how this program is not necessarily the sole solution to our disproportional membership, right? There need to be steps that are taken in conjunction with. So I think that those changes kind of reflect the conversations that we had during committee.
Are there any questions on the corrections? Seeing none, first right to debate.
All right. So tonight, I want to keep my words real brief because I feel like you all know where I stand, and let other senators in the room kind of share their thoughts. But first, I kind of want to speak to the Accelerated Fellowship Program and kind of my experience with that. Really, what we did as a special committee was provide a space for all students who wanted to be involved and wanted to see what we do to do just that, right? It was interesting to me that we don't have an avenue by which that students can do that, and providing that access and empowering those students had a tremendous effect on what I think is their college experience. Really, and I know that other senators can attest to this, but seeing them kind of group up and pair up in some of these activities and really own the work that we were doing was an amazing thing. It was an amazing sight. Really gave me the chills. And second, I really want to talk about the intern program and my experience with that. I was very lucky that I had a great intern coordinator, Jordan. Yeah. I think that the reason why I know what I know about SGA is in part due to my intern coordinator, but also in part due to my SGA mentor, who's Jordan Martin. The reason I know everything I know is because of him, right? And I think that that component of the intern program is incredibly beneficial. With that, too, is the committee rotation. I think that the committee rotation really exposed me to all the committees, and I know that that's something that interns do this year. But during my year, I really thought that that elevated my SGA experience. So again, we talked last week about how combining these components of these two programs is what's best, right? Is what's best for SGA and what's best for the students at our university. And I really just want to highlight one fact, and it was brought up in committee last Sunday, and that is that this program really has the same foundation as our current intern program, right? We're not changing what happens after, right? We're not changing that component that can, like, the long-term component of the program, right? That phase 2 is the intern program. All that's really is changing is the entrance, and that we are providing access to all students. And I want to speak to that point as well. I feel like a lot of conversations about this bill have centered around the question of, do we provide access or do we want a selective group, right? Because that selectivity nurtures this competitive atmosphere and this really prestigious group of students who are the best in that role, right? But I don't think that that's entirely true, and I don't think that that argument is entirely accurate. I think that what we want in that intern program, that group of individuals that push each other to be better and that are the best for that position, is something that will come in this program. And I think that naturally we will find the best group of students to serve in that phase 2. So that's about all I got. I'd love to stay for questions.
Questions for Chair Kelly? All right. Is there any debate in the negative? Senator Bothwell?
So I have one major problem with this bill in its current state right now, and I think that one thing needs to be considered before anything else, and that's the fact that there's not a cap on the numbers whatsoever. I'm all for opening up SGA to be as many people as possible, but I think there's a lot of logistical issues that aren't being considered when passing this bill. So last week, one of the questions that was asked in discussion was what is this going to do? And there was over 120 interns that applied this year alone. So I think we have to consider this bill. Let's assume that 120 is going to be the same number. I think that's a good idea, to run on this assumption. So first of all, I think that just creates a problem when having the interns involved in Senate in that Phase 2 program. Last week, the answer to that question was they can sit in a different room and that can be streamed to them. But if you're getting Senate streamed to you, that's not the same thing as sitting in on a student Senate meeting. You don't get the ability to go for discussion, you don't get the ability to make seconds, and you don't get the ability to discuss any of the motions that are being brought up. As a current intern right now, that's been one of the really nice things is being able to ask questions, being able to have whatever I want answered and sitting in on that. And if you're removed in a secondary room because there's so many interns, I don't think that reaches the same effect possible. So I think that also leads into logistical problems with mentors. I think mentoring is a great idea. We actually didn't do mentoring this year, which is something I actually would have enjoyed. But again, I think that leads into the issue of if we have 120 students, that's saying that there's 3 to 4 students per student senator. They're all going to be mentoring. So they have to make individual time for all of those commitments. Again, as just more time in addition to their other commitments involved in student government as well. And I think that leads into my last point, and that's the workload that's going to be put on intern coordinators through this bill. So with this new bill, it's basically putting the 2 programs, the Accelerated Fellowship Program as well as the intern program. So those 2 programs existed this year simultaneously. And each of those programs had 2 coordinators on them, which was a large amount of people that they had to take care of. And I think with this new bill, you have 2 coordinators. And in the first phase, there will be the 2 of them working together. But in later phases, you have basically quadruple the number of students that you do now, but you have each of those coordinators is having their duties split in half. So again, I think that creates some logistical issues for the coordinators that could be addressed through different amendments. I was just saying my first reaction to this bill was just that I think in its current state, that number, not putting a cap on it, just limits a lot of logistical issues happening in Student Senate right now. I think that cap could easily be extended. I think there's definitely room to have more interns, and I think another problem that happened at least this year in the intern program is I think attendance policies weren't followed very well, and I think that needs to be enforced through the intern program. And again, I kind of like the combination of the fellowship program and the intern program, but I think not having a cap on the numbers by a certain point will limit the experiences that both students, that student interns as well as student senators are getting out of the program. So that's where I stand on that.
Any questions for Senator Bothwell? Senator McIntyre?
Do you think that all 120 people that applied to be an intern would still be interested after 4 informational sessions?
So that's one thing I think that's really interesting. That's why I actually am in favor of the informational sessions part of it, because I think it would let more people find out more about it. Again, I don't like the number cap though. I think that's where I really take issue with this bill.
Chair Kelly?
Your only issue with this bill is that there's not a cap on the number of individuals in the program?
There was other questions, things that were concerning to me, but that was the thing I felt had to be debated today.
Follow up?
Were you able to come to the special committee on membership meeting on Sunday?
No, I didn't go to that meeting. I understand we talked about that. It just didn't work out time commitment wise.
Senator Bergson?
What do you feel about the amendment that they're trying to make in line 325 about interns maybe having the ability to make any motion?
I think we're able to do that right now, aren't we? We can do everything other than write legislation. So I don't think that's actually that. I think that was a unanimous people supporting me.
Sorry. Yeah, I think. Director Kuchera?
Interns can make any motion in Student Senate right now. They can write legislation, they just can't be the sole author. They have to have a senator.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yep, that is correct. Chair Kelly.
Do you think that a venue like Forum Hall would be more accommodating to more students?
That I don't think is a bad idea. Again, I don't think the bill addressed that in any way in its current state. So
I'm going to go to Senator Garcia.
So my question was that if you think there should be a cap on there, do you have an idea of what that number should be?
I mean, right now, I would say you could probably extend it by at least 10 students. And again, and I think that ties back into what I was saying about, I think there's probably about 5 interns at the moment who've effectively dropped the program. So I think that makes like 15 over the whole year. We could have more in this room right now than we do at the moment.
Yep, Senator Martin.
Is there anything in our bylaws where we have to meet in this room?
I don't think that exactly pertains to his debate.
He's talking specifically about space. He says this room does not have enough space.
No, I'm not that familiar with that. And again, that's not the issue I have. just the idea that we were running on, like the information I had from last week, I felt like meeting in the space wouldn't be good enough.
All right, follow up. Sorry about that.
Okay. So if this room isn't big enough, do you think there's a problem with moving?
So like moving to? No, I don't have a problem with moving. Again, I just felt like if we're going to meet with like 120 more people in the room, they need to have the same access to be able to do that.
Time.
Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani. Is moved and seconded to extend questions by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, there's 5 more minutes. Chief of Staff Keel.
To your point about making a cap for the intern program, the cap was extended by 10 students last year. Do you feel that that allowed all students to be served through the intern program that were interested in SGA?
So I wasn't in the program when it was in a smaller amount. I wasn't even a student here, so I can't attest to that.
But for this year?
I feel like definitely it obviously would have helped, and I think extending it is good. Again, I just felt like with the current situation we're in now that having an unlimited number at the moment we're in prevented if students wouldn't be in this room, I feel like that's the issue I have. Like if students can't be in the same room, I think that's important. So I think the cap should be for whatever space is, I guess, good enough is really where I'm going with that.
Further questions, Chair Kelly?
Forum Hall accommodates at least 300 students. 545 students. You said that there were 120 interns that applied, right? Oh gosh, how do I not hear this?
Yeah, where's the question?
I see. This is kind of hypothetical. Any further questions? If not, is there any debate in the positive? Director Kuchera.
So I've been lucky enough to serve as student support director this year. And one of my big things of serving students is trying to create access to learning about student government and to empowering students to give them the tools to work on whatever problems they have in their college situation. Last year, I had the opportunity to serve as Speaker Pro Tem, and I was in the room as we reviewed intern applications. And I remember very specifically that we were looking at the application of a junior student, and people who were in that room at the time said, well, maybe this is not the best candidate for this program because this person would only have 1 year left here at K-State. And I'm also aware of other applications from juniors, seniors, or maybe even graduate students that did not get through the process simply because they didn't have enough time left here in student government. It went so far as the idea was brought up last year about how do we work through this selection problem. How do we work through this selection problem so that we can make sure that it's a fair and equitable process to everything? And I think the final solution we were starting to talk about was maybe even involving human capital services to make sure that we don't discriminate against like people of different ages or people of different high school backgrounds and leaderships. So one thing I think this bill is fantastic on is getting rid of that selection process, which is a barrier to entry to learning about student government. I think it also allows people to join student government and learn about it whenever they happen to get interested in things during the year. For instance, we had people like Haley Spellman, Ayanna Belk, different people like that who came to Senate after some of those hateful incidents on campus last semester. Without an AFP program or something, they were reliant on people like me and other leaders in the room to try to reach out to them to connect them with different committees, whereas this creates a revolving education program that they could tap into. And the biggest debate that I've heard so far this week about why this is maybe not a good thing is it doesn't look at all the hypotheticals, and it doesn't look at, can we work with if we have 120 interns or something like that? Stop. You're thinking too much. You're thinking too much when it comes to hypotheticals. The idea of a change is not to look at every possible solution, but the question you should be asking yourself is, do we have the capacity to handle unimagined success? I view unimagined success as 120 interns. I want 120 interns. I want something like that. But there's a difference in between a governing documents change and a report and practice. In a report and a practice, we can imagine what those different solutions could be. Different venues, streaming, potentially looking at maybe tightening the process over time. But let's look back at the governing documents. Do we think that this change offers that flexibility to make that change in the future? And I think, yes, it does. So ask yourself, do we have enough capacity? Are there options to handle a bunch of students if they are interested in learning about student government? And I think the answer is yes. And I think the answer is that the process can be improved as we go along. And also, as we have different debates, let's also make sure we keep the questions about debates and not necessarily trying to make a debate point through a question. So with that, I'd love to stand for any questions you have.
Great point, Stephen. And I will draw everybody's attention to their handy dandy name tags. On the back side, very bottom left corner, there's a little section that pertains to questions. It says questions must pertain to the debate or the legislation, may not ask opinions or feelings, may not pose hypothetical scenarios, and may not ask questions to, may not ask for the answers to questions that you already know.
So the easiest tip that I can think of is when you ask the question, do you think? Don't do that. Start whatever you would say after do you think, and then that's a much better question. So I stand for questions.
Any questions for Director Kuchera? Intern coordinator Jewel.
Could you clarify the point you made about judging people based on their age?
Yes.
I don't recall that.
So I was not in the room this year, but I was in the room last year. No, this was not a question about this year because I have no clue what the process that was followed this year, nor about grade distributions of the intern class this year. And last year I sat in a meeting as we were reviewing applications, and the thing on the intern page says specifically that we're trying to educate and prepare students to become the future leaders across the different branches. And I remember very specifically, and this is something that's happened in years, not just last year, but they looked through that and they said, okay, here's a junior student, they only have 1 year left, so I don't think that this is I don't remember exactly what the words were, but they passed over the junior just because they were a junior.
Chief of Staff Field.
I refer my speaking rights.
I'm just going to add on to that. I think in previous years before I was there, it had always been reiterated that the program's for freshmen and sophomore students so that they have a longer time. So even when you look at the number of students that are applying from other grades, they just weren't present in those numbers anyways. So there are probably, I think, 1 senior and 2 juniors that applied when I was intern coordinator, and that was partly because when we were recruiting, it was stated like, oh, it's mainly for freshmen, but if you want to get involved, you can go ahead and apply. So I think this kind of changes that mindset where anyone that wants to know about the program or know about SGA can get involved through the info sessions.
Can I see double for that?
Or for my speaking rights to President Ayers.
I was going to say that was a driving factor behind the expansion of the cap to 35. Is because it does, when your hands are tied, there's not much flexibility to begin with. I think it was kind of our thought. That was where we kind of landed in the room 2 years ago when we were picking interns for that 16, 17 class. So, anyway.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Further questions? If not, is there any debate in the negative? Senator Kuechly?
So I think we all know that the future of any organization, whether it be SGA or anything else, lies solely in the hands of those who are younger and less experienced than us. So with that in mind, I think that it's very important that we're considering every output of this legislation and how it might affect the future of SGA. As an intern less than an hour ago, I think I offer a unique perspective to those of you who haven't been an intern, who haven't gone through that process, who haven't really experienced what it's like to be an intern. And I can tell you from that perspective, right now, I think we're doing a fantastic job in what we're doing, and I urge you to vote in the negation of this piece of legislation for the following 3 reasons. First off, the removal of limits, I feel, is going to be a problem. Second off, there's this impression that we're trying to dissociate interns from SGA with the way that this legislation is written. And finally, I think it's targeting the wrong areas for the problems that it's trying to solve. So first off, with the removal of limits, and I think Senator Bothwell brought up a lot of great points when it comes to that. So I'd like to kind of expand on that. What my interpretation of the intern program is that instead of trying to get the most amount of people there, we're trying to get the most driven, those who truly care about the future of SGA, who aren't doing it just to put it on their application that they were a member of SGA. So while it's nice to get more voices within this organization, I feel that if we're in a lecture hall of 544 people, I'm not going to feel like my voice really matters there. I mean, I've been sitting here this entire year, and this is the first time I've spoke to SGA, partly because I feel like an intern's voice doesn't matter, but I feel like that would only increase if we were to expand the program in which over 100 students are a part of that. Again, it proposes a lot of logistics questions, both with the intern coordinators and with how we go about business. If there's 100 and some odd people, when we're listening to an executive branch meeting or when we're listening to a mock trial, we're not going to get that full experience because we're just going to be detached. A smaller, more intimate group is the best way to learn about that. Second off, when you look at the legislation, there's this impression of disassociation with SGA. And I think the application process is important for interns to feel like they're truly members. Most people here are either selected by the executive branch or they go through an elections, they have to run a campaign. And because of that, they have to work for that. And when they work for that, they have this feeling that there's this accountability. And because of that, it's very important that we maintain this process. Also, when you look at the way that it's worded, essentially it's like you show up to these informational meetings, you're not a member of SGA per se, you don't have, well, you have maintain some of the same rights, but it takes out any wording that says that you're an SGA intern, which I thought was a bit unusual. And quite frankly, I think it decreases the excitement and drive. I don't think this legislation enacts anything special. Those people who weren't accepted as interns are still able to attend Senate meetings. They're still able to run for office. So I don't think that saying that they're interns and taking away this experience from the rest of us is really going to do anything that's really going to add too many unique voices. Which brings me to my third point. It targets the wrong area. When we look at the lines 51 through 53, I think the biggest problem that we have with the intern program and with SGA as a whole is it doesn't represent enough groups. We don't have enough diversity within SGA.
Time for the speakers expired. Is there a motion to extend? Chair Kelly?
I move we extend the speaker's time by 10 minutes.
Second. Moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 10 minutes. If there are no objections, we got 10 more minutes.
I fully agree that we don't have enough diversity within SGA, but I don't think it targets the right audience. I think we need to be getting more people to apply for internships with SGA rather than just saying, come one, come all. Because quite frankly, I'm a freshman this year, and if I was told at the beginning of the year that we're kind of just holding these informal information meetings, I might have attended one or two, but I doubt that I would have continued with SGA. When I go through this application process, I'm more committed to that. So instead, we should be getting more diverse viewpoints and applying with the intern program to begin with, because I don't think these 100 some odd people are truly representing all of the groups that we are wanting to. So there is a desire for change, and I agree that there should be some change, but I don't think this piece of legislation is really going to do what we want it to do. I think it's just going to get future interns less excited about the process, and therefore they aren't going to be creating the change that we might hope that there will be. With that, I'm open to questions.
All right. Friendly reminder that questions may not ask opinions or feelings, and may not pose hypothetical scenarios. And one friendly reminder, if you refer to previous debaters, please use previous speaker. So, with that, questions, Director Kuchera.
You mentioned the importance of reaching out to more student groups so that they apply to the intern program. How would you legislate good outreach?
I think that's a great question, and I think that's something that this legislative body has been asking ourselves for quite a while. Even with the intern program, I don't think I would have really heard about that or applied if it wasn't for Senator Martin, who was from my hometown, and if I didn't know about that to begin with. So I think possibly putting up posters within dorms or chalking, just some way to get people to know that the intern program is a thing and that they're able to apply.
Chair Neatery.
Are the 4 sessions a form of an application process?
It is in a sense, but I think the formal application process is going to do a lot more to solidify your commitment to the program.
Okay. I'm not sure you have speaking rights. I'm
Our friend
sorry.
has speaking rights to Jacques.
There we go.
Can you please elaborate as to your experience in the current intern program?
My experience has been fantastic. I'm going to be honest, there have been points where I've just kind of been sitting there bored out of my mind when we're going over travel allocations and whatnot. But I would say that the portion of the internship program has been very educational. The fact that we do the committee rotations, that we have been able to see the different areas of the SGA, overall it's been a good It's been a good experience, and I think I've gotten closer with my fellow interns because it's been a more intimate group.
Follow-up?
I refer to the follow-up.
Sweet. There we go.
Can you please elaborate as to how many students are within that group that you said you've created peer-to-peer relationships with?
I think it's 35. I'm not 32, somewhere around there.
Awesome. Senator McIntyre.
Why should people attend SGA meetings?
I think people should attend SGA meetings if they have a passion for what's going on and so that they can get their voices heard. Nothing in our current system is prohibiting people from attending SGA meetings, and I think that, of course, should be encouraged. But for the intern program, I think that what the purpose of the intern program to do is to hopefully get people to run for offices. So you can be invested in SGA without wanting to seek a position, and I think that's the distinction we need to make.
Senator McIntyre.
Sorry, it's kind of working. Does an application drive people to come and be engaged at the meetings.
For my personal,
I think that asks his opinion. What's that, Bill? All right, take it away.
Okay, from my personal experience, I'm gonna say yes, because there have been plenty of times where I've woken up at 5:30 from a midday nap, not wanting to come to SGA, and the fact that I made that commitment by applying and by having the three absence before getting kicked out, that's really held me accountable. And when I've been here, it's been fantastic, but I don't know if I would have come if it hadn't been for that process without feeling obligated to.
Time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Chair Kelly?
I move to extend the speaker's time for questions by 5 minutes.
Second.
It is moved and seconded to extend time by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, there's 5 more minutes. Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
Are you aware that there is a 3 absence rule on the legislation as it's written right now? That you will be kicked out of the intern program or taken before a review committee?
Right, and that works. But I still think that the application process and the fact that it's more an intimate group, it's like Nathan's able to keep me accountable if I skip a meeting. If I don't really know people, if I'm just sitting in this lecture hall, I don't know if I would necessarily attend. It just creates another reason to come.
Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
I defer my speaking rights to Senator-elect Rajat Kadira. Within your knowledge, do you know of any other educational outlets for students who come to Senate to learn about SGA other than the intern program?
I mean, what we're hearing is that you're able to kind of like befriend people who are in there, and that helps. Also, I know Young Democrats came and spoke at the beginning of the year, so there are outside organizations that have an invested interest in SGA.
Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
I defer to Rajat. My follow-up, is there any official SGA or outlets in which a student can get educated about SGA other than the intern program?
Officially?
You know the answer to that question. I don't. I'm not in the intern program. I don't know.
But you coordinated the fellowship program. Chief of Staff Keel. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. Sorry. You talk a lot about the obligation you have based on attendance requirements. Should the people in this room only be here because there's attendance?
No, not at all. And I think that was only half of the argument I was making. I think the other half that I think is kind of getting glazed over is the fact that I'm kind of making these connections with people who are going through the same experience with me, and this closer, more intimate group is a lot better for that. I feel like I wouldn't know Hannah or Annie as well if there was 100 of us.
Further questions? If not, we'll move to positive debate. Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
Thanks,
Hi everyone, my name is Ramin. So I think that most of you in this room know me by now, but I want to sort of share my story and how it relates to this legislation. So I am a 5th-year student in engineering. I have been around the university quite a bit. I know a lot of people around here, and I will say that it did not happen for me through SGA. And how I ended up in SGA is actually through just pure dumb luck. I got an email that said, hey, deadline to apply for SGA Senate. And I was like, that's cool. I heard about that my freshman year. I'm just going to throw my name in. And then I started talking to people, and I started learning more about SGA, attending Senate meetings, and I got really, really engaged really, really quick. And I think that all happened in February. So if I am someone who was very involved on campus, had always known about SGA, but it's sort of always been in the back of my mind, got into it in February, showed up at the next Senate meeting after I filed, and Jordan Martin walked up to me and he's like, you filed for SGA, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, come sit with me. And it was Jordan and Ryan that I sat next to that meeting, and they explained everything that went on in that meeting. I will say that meeting, I learned more about SGA than I have the following 47 or whatever we're at right now, 40. We are way into the year. I've been to a lot of SGA meetings in the past year, I will say, and I have learned a lot, and it has been in the first couple meetings that I went to, people explaining to me the whole process of everything that's going on, and me growing a lot as a leader, as a person, and being involved in SGA. Now, I will say that there's some stuff in this legislation that I'm not like 100% for, but I really support this legislation, how it's written. I really think it's written really well, and I think that it will provide a really great program. Now, some of the things that we need to take into consideration are the fact that the committee that wrote this legislation, was a very diverse group of people. There was a lot of people who'd been through the intern program, who were senators. There was Ryan, who was the chair. There was people who were in the executive branch. There was people who had never been an intern, were first-year senators. There was people who were not in SGA at all. There was interns. It was a very diverse group of people who sat there and debated over and over and over again to make sure that we passed the best piece of legislation through our committee that we thought would do a really great program bringing people into our SGA, because this is a program that benefits all students and it should be attended by a lot more students, in my personal opinion. I think that if we hold this in Forum Hall, I think, hypothetically speaking, if there are 200 students that are standing behind all of you, sitting behind all of you, that will provide for a really great program within SGA. There will be a lot more people who are engaged on our university, a lot more people who will care about what's going on in this room. Because it has been brought up over and over again that there are not a lot of students that care, and there are not a lot of students that are touched by us. And I feel like if we engage a lot more students from a lot more diverse backgrounds, we will get a lot more engagement from our students to our administration. We will have a lot more power to our administration when we can say that our average meeting is attended by 300 people rather than 60. I don't know. I just feel like this is a really great piece of legislation. It offers a lot of opportunities for people to join later on. There's a lot of people who hear about SGA really late into the year because they get engaged with a program, they meet an SGA senator, they meet someone who's in SGA in any branch, and they learn about SGA later on. It allows the opportunity for people to get involved, get engaged at that point in the year rather than early on. Because I said this last meeting when we introduced this piece of legislation, but unless you know someone in SGA, unless someone introduced you to the intern program very early on, odds are you didn't know about it. Odds are you didn't apply. In my case, that wasn't the reality. No one introduced me to SGA. But in a lot of people's cases, a lot of the interns in this room and a lot of the people who have been interns can say that they were introduced.
Time for the speakers expires. Is there a motion to extend Intern King?
Move to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. Second.
Okay. A lot of the
There are
people in
no
this room.
Objections? You've got 5 more minutes.
Okay. A lot of the people in this room who are interns and were interns can say that they are involved in this program or in this room because someone referred them directly. And if you want to get up and argue against the fact that that is the majority, go for it. But I really think it's not. I stand for questions.
Questions for Caucus Leader Rostapor? All right. Is there any further debate in the negative? Any further debate in the positive? Chair Nordstrom?
Okay, thank you for letting me speak tonight. So I, and Chair Kelly definitely has had a lot of conversations this year about this. I've been a very adamant no through most of this process, probably since this started being brought up last term, for a lot of reasons that were stated in some of the negative debates today. Because ideologically, I don't know, I thought that this change was taking out a lot of good things that I thought the intern program brought, and I think that's beyond just the recruiting part. And so I'm going to be frank that I think this is different. It's a huge change, and we will lose, if this were to pass, I think it would lose a couple things that the intern program has right now, and I think this is having a small group of high-achieving students that creates a tight-knit kind of atmosphere, and like I said, I think that experience, I was an intern, it's something that I hold pretty near and dear to my heart, might not be quite the same. And I do think it's going to be because of the numbers issue, not issue, but the numbers. I know we shouldn't be going into hypothetical situations, but I think that the AFP, the accelerated AFP program this year, accelerated AFP. That's not the right way to say that, but like I think Chair Kelly did a great job, and the delivery of that we had. I think if people went to 4 meetings, 100% of those AFP students applied and ran for Senate. And so I think, one, that's a good testament to the effectiveness of this program, which means I think that there will be a lot of people that continue on. So it will be different. And that was kind of part of my concern amongst some other things, because I think that there are benefits to having a selection. However, just with the nature of this year, I think, in this term, I think we all know that it's been quite a year. There's a lot that's gone on. I myself will admit, like, Senate has been my favorite experience here at K-State, and there's been many times this year, this term specifically, where I've been discouraged or even a little cynical that, like, we're just not doing anything anymore. No one cares. I maybe don't even care. And I think that's I don't think the issue is the intern program. I don't think the intern program is discriminating or saying, none of that. Like, we're not playing identity politics here. Like, I think that we're at a crossroad where there's a lack of interest in the Senate. I mean, 12 senators ran or 12 returning senators ran. I think that's an issue. And so, kind of to conclude that, like, these are different. I am not someone who likes change. I could give you a million examples. But, like, we need people that care. We need better access. Like a previous speaker spoke, like, I myself am not, I probably wouldn't have joined if someone hadn't reached out to me and said, hey, I think you should apply for this. It's a really great experience. Like I said, the experience of if this were to pass will be different. And it's scary, and it's a change, I know, but, like, I care about equal opportunity, maybe not necessarily equal outcome. I think if you get the opportunity, it's up to you, and I think this is giving as many students as possible that opportunity. And there will be crossroads. I think logistically this could be difficult, but I think it's something that we need to do. I think we need to do our due diligence to maintain the level of professionalism and just, I don't know where I was going with that thought, but yeah, this is okay. That's all I really have to say. Any questions?
Any questions for Chair Nordstrom? All right. Is there any further debate in the negative? Intern King.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the major concern I have with this bill is has been summed up by some of the previous speakers, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate it. If right now we're sitting at 35 interns, we haven't had the mentor program this year. I think that was, after talking to senators who are serving now, the mentor program was the thing they got most out of being an intern was the mentor program. And so if we didn't have that this year with 35 students, and since there's no provisions in the bill to increase the number of intern coordinators, how can we properly serve our students if we have 100 and we still can't carry out the mentor program if we only have 35 interns and we can't carry out the mentor program? That's my issue that I have with this bill. Another thing is, I know that we brought up that if we had 100 students in the intern program, we couldn't be in this room, and there were talks about moving it to Forum Hall and that. I think Dr. Bosco came and talked to the intern class just a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how this room was built specifically for SGA. So if we can't fit in this room that is specifically made for SGA that we did with this union, and we have to move, I just feel like that just doesn't make sense to me. But I do agree that, like, this bill has a lot of good meaning behind it, that we do need a more diverse Senate. I think that, and the internship program is a good way to go about that. But like a previous speaker said, I don't know if exactly this is the exact way to go about it. So those are just some of my my things that I have with the bill. So, I stand for questions.
Thank you for your debate. And you might not know the answer to this. Why did we not have a mentor program for the interns this year?
I do not know the answer to that question. I
You can refer it to somebody.
I don't. Hannah or intern Hannah, intern Michael.
Yep. Is there anybody that would like to answer that question? Chair Neatery?
I don't know the exact answer, but I know that the intern program is not always a positive experience for everyone. My experience wasn't as positive as a lot of people.
Okay.
Mentor program. What did I say?
Great.
Mentor program.
Right. Great. Awesome. Next, further questions?
Thank you for
Senator Tuttle.
Can you speak to your personal experience in the intern program this year?
Yeah. So my kind of like a previous speaker said, I have not talked in front of Senate until now, other than reading a travel allocations bill. So this has kind of been like, I guess, the pinnacle of my internship right now. But I would say that if it wasn't for the internship program and it wasn't for all the things that we talk about every week before we all come into this room, I wouldn't have had the confidence to stand here and debate in the negative for a bill. When I first came into this program, I wouldn't have thought about debating even in the positive for a bill. But now I'm standing here debating in the negative for a bill. I think that what the internship program does is, since we do have a small group of individuals, it provides us a type of, we can talk with each other and we can kind of have those kind of relationships that a previous speaker talked about. I think that might be lost if there's more than 50 of us, if there's 100 of us. I think that kind of relationship between each other is lost. We can't go to Fuzzy's Tacos after Senate with 100 people, and you can't build those relationships. So I think that is kind of some of the aspects of the internship program that would be lost.
Further questions? Attorney General Hanneman?
You and a previous speaker have both discussed losing those personal experiences by making the applicant pool larger. Do you think that the implementation of a mentor program will help keep some of those personal experiences and personal relationships?
Yes, I would definitely think that if we implemented the mentor program stronger, that would create not only relationships between interns, but also relationships between interns and senators. So that way you can get that more personal relationship with someone who you're sitting next to in Senate. So yes.
Time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Dinez?
I extend the speaker's speaking points for 5 minutes.
It's moved and seconded to extend time for questions by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, you have 5 more minutes. All right. Caucus Leader Rostenpour?
Okay. Are you aware that the mentorship program is written into the legislation as it stands right now?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
And I don't know if this is, I don't think it's an opinion, but let me know. Do you
I'm going to have to rule that out right now. Yeah. If you drop that first part, it might help.
All right. Certain senators may be able to provide mentorship opportunities for multiple senators or multiple interns, whereas some may not be able to provide opportunities for any. And I think that how the legislation stands right now.
I think that's starting to get a little debate-like. Caucus Leader Rostenpour, I would encourage you to share that debate during positive debate. Further questions? Yes, I'm sorry, I can't see a name tag.
I don't have one. Polson.
Polson, you bet. There you go.
Okay, this might be as me too, so you can shut me down. But what is the best way for a student who is denied from the intern program to get involved with SGA and make those connections?
Okay. Yeah, I think the best way now, since we have the accelerated fellowship program, that would be a great way to get involved. I mean that's a good way to get involved, And also by talking with senators and attending SGA meetings would be great. If we ourselves advocated to come to Senate more, I think that would be a good way to get involved. But I think that the Accelerated Fellowship Program and the intern program, I don't know how much overlap between the two there needs to be, or whether or not we're wanting to have two separate entities working, or they're going to be both. The Accelerated Fellowship Program is going to flow into the internship program. I just think that the Accelerated Fellowship Program is a good way for people to figure out if SGA is a thing that they want to pursue, if that answers your question.
Follow-up.
Granted.
Should this bill not pass, is the AFP program continuing next year?
No. I think that's a hypothetical.
Okay.
Yeah, for Senator.
It will not exist next year as the Accelerated Fellowship Program.
Thank you.
We'll see.
Chair Needry.
Will two separate bodies, an intern program and an accelerated fellowship program, never mind.
Caucus Leader Albers.
So are you proposing to keep the internship program the way it is and the accelerated fellowship program the way it is?
See, no, I wouldn't. I think that if we do want to continue the Accelerated Fellowship Program, we need to which I don't know if there is any plans to continue the Accelerated Fellowship Program, but I think that if we do, we need to somehow come up with a way that makes the Accelerated Fellowship unique or different or somewhat that defines itself other than the internship program. Kind of like what the previous speakers were talking about, the application process. I would agree with them that the application process, I think, is a good way. It solidifies your commitment to a body or an organization more than attending certain meetings. But I would advocate that we should continue the Accelerated Fellowship Program, but we need to figure out some way to make it more unique and more kind of find its identity as opposed to doing the same thing that the internship program is doing.
Caucus Leader Rostenpour.
Would formally expressing your interest to continue in the program as an official intern create something of a interview or application process that you would be happy with?
Okay, I'm going to need you to restate that question.
Figuratively speaking, you go through the intern
So
program.
that's a hypothetical. Go ahead.
So, okay, I'm gonna say the question again. Maybe use a little bit of different words. But would a formal expression of interest in continuing in the program to go into a more dedicated role, to be more involved in SGA, substitute for what you view as the importance of the application process?
By the person who's...
So I am the intern. I go to the intern coordinator and say, hey, I really want to get more engaged. I want to be more involved.
Okay, that second part was hypothetical.
But I think the part about the application process that I myself personally like is that it asks thought-provoking questions, and it asks, what are your views on campus? What are your, I can't remember the exact questions that we were asked, but the questions kind of gauged the student body, the freshman, sophomore, whatever, the ages of the intern program, what your views were about campus politics. And I think that's a strong thing to kind of gauge how the internship program, it's important for us as SGA to hear from students. And I think that if we don't have that application process, then maybe we won't be hearing from students in that way.
Time for questions has expired. Is there a motion to extend? Senator Klein.
I'm going to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes.
Is moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, you have 5 more minutes. Senator Klein.
So would those informational meetings not also gauge their interest in the program?
It would, but I think that what the benefit of the application process is that I think that it's two different things for me to be able to stand here and say, these are my thoughts, and these are my views. It's another thing. I mean, I think the importance of like being able to say it and then being able to write it out, being able to, I just think that type of dedication that you have to sit down, you have to write out your responses to these questions. You have to submit it. You have to do this stuff. I think it's a thing. I have to, in all the other clubs and organizations have, not all of them, but there are clubs and organizations that have application processes. I mean, is it wrong for SGA interns to have an application process as well? I mean, but I think that the questions that are asked in the application provide kind of a two thing that you are able to write down what you think, and I think that's kind of a quality in the internship program that is necessary if you do want to write legislation or you do want to write something of like that.
Great. I'm going to give the floor real quick to Advisor Bill.
Okay, so seriously, guys, just because you can phrase the question as a question, people can see this as debate. We have people who are willing to stand up and make their points in front of the group. Let's not try to change their mind with our questioning. Just accept their debate. If you don't understand something, ask for clarification. That's what questions are supposed to be. Clarification. And, you know, I keep snapping instead of shooting. Don't do that again. After that.
Oh, dear.
3 weeks, Jack. But seriously, we should be proud of people for standing up and voicing their opinions. You're not going to change their mind with any question you ask. Save it for your debate, stand up and share your thoughts, sway the people who don't have their mind made up yet, and then we can move on with what the majority of the group thinks. So just stop trying to make your points through questions, please.
All right. Any clarifying questions? If not, further debate. Chair Andrus.
Hi guys. I can't believe I clapped this much today. It's fine. I just have a couple quick points on why I think this is a positive change. Personally, one, when I was a freshman, I got denied from every single organization that I applied for. Every single one. Every single one. I did nothing. And I can guarantee you that if I had applied for SGA and they had said no to, I would have not come back my sophomore year. It was the only organization I didn't apply for my freshman year because I didn't know what it was. Number two, my brother, on the other hand, did apply this year, which I don't necessarily think that he should have gotten in by any means because he's definitely not like the most outspoken person and politically inclined person or whatever you want to call it. But I also know that because he got denied, there's no way in God's name that he would have ever walked back in this room to make his point because he was denied by our body by saying you cannot be in here. So that's just like my personal point of view. I have a really hard time with it because of that, and I don't see why there shouldn't be more voices in the room for that reason, because by saying no, we're saying no to the rest of those applicants. And a lot of those applicants then are not going to turn around and say, yeah, let me walk back in this room that just told me, sorry, see ya. Does that make sense? Questions? Cool. Awesome.
Questions for Chair Andrus? If not, is there any debate in the negative? Is that negative debate?
I don't know.
So, intern Melberg, we can't have neutral debate. You'll have to make up your mind. It's going to be negative.
Okay, so the reason it's not totally negative is because I like a lot of the aspects of the bill, but I also believe that the bill should be a little bit different, so that's why it's negative, if that makes sense.
That works.
So talking with some of the interns, we think that there should be educational meetings before you actually apply. So we had like one informational meeting, but that didn't really explain to us like what the intern program like totally entailed or what a Senate meeting exactly looked like. So we think that like everyone should have to go to at least like one of these meetings and attend a Senate meeting to know what it's like to be a part of Senate. And then after this, then they could apply for an application. And I think that once you like force people to go to an educational meeting and a Senate meeting, you're going to cut down the number of people that want to do this program anyway. So I don't think there's ever going to be a time when you're going to have 120 people applying for this. So the application would still show motivation, but then you wouldn't have to cut the numbers after this application. So you're not putting a cap on the number of students involved. And like the beginning of the year is super crazy as a freshman. I remember getting an email that said I was like nominated and that I should apply, and so that's why I did. I honestly had no clue what SGA was like. So I think that maybe doing this 2 times of the year with the educational meetings and being able to join would help as well. Because at the beginning it's so crazy, you don't know what organizations you should be in, you don't know what time commitments look like because you've never taken a college class on campus before. So I think you could do this 2 times a year with the educational meeting. And I like the idea of forming just one group because I don't think there should be 2 entities of the intern program and the accelerated fellowship because that kind of creates a divide between the students. So I like the combination of the groups into one. Any questions?
Any clarifying questions for intern Malmberg? If not, is there any debate in the positive? Chair Kelly?
I think somebody left their notes on the stand. Not sure who that is, but I kind of just want to talk about the atmosphere around and kind of the climate. It's pretty cool, right? A lot of people being engaged in what's going on. I think that that's amazing. And I really just want to get up here and just clear up some things that I think were kind of inaccurately portrayed. So I just want to, just for specifics. First, the administration of the Accelerated Fellowship Program. A previous speaker brought up that it was 2 people that coordinated that program. I want to make sure that it's known that it was the Special Committee on Membership that created the curriculum and administered the program and developed the groundwork for this program moving forward. The Phase 1 intern coordinator would have to take the curriculum that was already developed by the special committee and implement it. That's all. Secondly, I wanted to bring up a point about accelerated fellowship participation. It was noted that individuals who undergo this 4 to 5 week course will not have that level of engagement that some interns do. I just wanted to talk about numbers specifically. So 79 total students filed for the 2018-2019 Student Senate election. Of those 79, as was mentioned, 12 are returning senators and 17 are participants in the Accelerated Fellowship Program. And then third, it was mentioned that taking interns off of committees is actually a dissociation of the SGA interns with SGA. To that point, I will just kind of clarify the justification for why that happened. Again, which was that that's not something that's being done this year, and it's not like we're the SGA intern program, and us legislating that interns serve on committees doesn't accurately reflect the intent behind the program. And then the fourth thing I wanted to bring up was a point on relationship building. Guys, there are not students who come to Student Senate and are not associated with the program. There aren't. There were not students coming before the Accelerated Fellowship Program, and to my knowledge, I don't see any students who are here that didn't go to the Accelerated Fellowship Program, right, or are not part of the intern program. And I think that it's pretty astonishing how much name tags and telling someone that they're a part of the group plays into that, and I think that you can see that with some of the students sitting in this room today. They're here because they have a name tag, because they were given the authorization by the Special Committee on Membership to say, you are part of a program, you are welcome in this body. And lastly, there have been a couple conversations by individuals that were not in the Special Committee on Membership meetings, and I really wish that these points would have been brought up there. I really do, because this would have been great conversation. And what I will say is that we have 2 Student Senate meetings left in this term, and there will be one special committee membership meeting left this term. We are not going to put forward another bill. We are not going to separate the two programs. We are not going to remove the accelerated, I don't know. We're not going to change anything, right? This bill in its present form is what we're putting forth, and conversations around fluctuations of that bill and amendments to that bill, I appreciate and I wish would have been noted in committee. And if anybody has any questions about that, I would love to clear those things up, but that's the reality of the situation. Is that
Time for the speaker has expired. Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani.
Move to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes. If there's no objections, you got 5 more minutes.
the reality is next year we will not have an accelerated fellowship program at all, right? The only change is this bill or what we had at the beginning of this term. That's the reality. And I hope your votes reflect that.
Questions for Chair Kelly? Yes, sir.
Seeing the success you had with the Accelerated Fellowship Program, why would we not continue with it?
The accelerated fellowship program?
Yeah.
So again, the Special Committee on Membership saw the success of the accelerated fellowship program and incorporated the beneficial components of that with the beneficial components of the intern program. And we put it into a bill, and we're putting that forth to you all. I would love to refer my speaking rights to Jordan.
And just kind of another point on that, the reason why it won't be continuing while the intern program is also going along is because Special Committee on Membership decided that that would create a divide between the two groups, which is exactly not what we want within Senate. So the idea that one would continue along with the intern program just kind of goes against the whole point that the committee was made for.
Yes, thanks, Jordan.
Further questions? If not, is there any debate in the negative? Senator Tuttle?
Hello, everyone. I think the first thing that I just want to point out is I've been keeping track, and there's been 6 yeses, and all of them have been, senators or another body, and all the no's have been for interns. And I think that just really speaks to this program and the divide. They're in the program right now, and they don't agree with this. And I know they don't get a vote. I actually came up here because I just felt like I needed to lend a voice. And so what I believe is I came to the Committee of Membership on Sunday. We had great conversation. I really appreciate what they're doing. I think it's great. I was actually on the committee last year. I really agree with just their intent behind this. The one thing I would have to say, though, is I brought this up actually in intro and in the committee, but I really believe that we should keep both right now. And the only negative that I've heard about it is that there'd be competing interests, but let's be honest, we're not in kindergarten, okay? We're all adults here. We're in different programs. I feel like they'll be entirely separate, and I don't foresee that as being a problem. But I think they both have benefits, and they both have fallbacks. And I don't think that we should have one without the other. We had like a short little go with it in the spring, and I think that it went super well. We had great results. I really commend Ryan for heading that up. I think that was amazing. And how many did we have? File. 17. Like, that is amazing. And I think that just speaks to the program there. But I think we're acting a little rash. We just haven't worked out the kinks. We don't know what works, what doesn't work, what's going to be best. What program is going to be best? Is it going to be the fellowship program? Is it going to be the internship program? Is it going to be both? I don't know. And if we have it on for a year, we can see which one works better, what will be the best for our body. And I know people are like, oh, it's just a year, who cares, if we do this, but it'll affect up to, potentially 120 students' experience of SGA, and I just don't feel like we should risk that many people's perception of SGA and their experience on just this because we want to enact change. And like I said, I really appreciate the effort. I appreciate the intent. I fully, wholeheartedly agree with that, but I just don't think that this might be the best way to go about it. Thank you.
Any questions for Senator Tuttle? Is that a question? If not, is there further debate in the positive? Chief of Staff Keel.
Okay, so I think one thing that just needs to be addressed right off the bat, last year we increased the cap, and making that change was a really difficult decision for Senate then. And I think now, after a year, we realize there are some kinks with it. But this program, this change right now, is still addressing that. And I think by looking at the fact that we did increase by 10 interns, that still didn't solve the problem that we were serving all the students that were interested in SGA. So increasing the cap again and again, eventually we're going to get to this program. So we're going to serve all those students anyways. And a lot of the debate has been on the fact of numbers and how many students we're going to have in this room. I see a full empty row right at the beginning and a couple of empty seats out in the middle. So I think that just goes to show we don't have all the students in here that need to be here, and we're not getting people engaged that want to be in the room. So whether or not you believe we have room in Senate to fill these seats, we don't have the students that are filling them now. And again, on that, there might be 120 students that come to the first session, but I think by the end, there's not going to be 120 that are deciding to continue on with the program. And part of that is the number of students that apply don't know what SGA does or is. A lot of them are looking for a way to get involved, but don't realize the time commitment or the programming or what we actually do, but they stay involved because they had a commitment to, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's also not the best when we have an intern class that might have interns in it that are only coming because they have an attendance requirement. Let me see, another point. The fact of closeness within the program, that comes from the facilitation of the intern coordinators and what they're doing from programming. And that comes down to creating groups within the intern program and the intern class to split people up and get them in smaller groups to talk about things. And that's how you get close with people. You're creating connections with them. And there's more than 35 people in this room, and I can say that I think all of us have at least one person that we like to sit next to, like to talk to outside of meetings or in committee meetings. And you just found that by your own self. So, and yeah, I think that's it.
Any questions for Chief of Staff Keel?
You might not have this information, but like, what's the current retention rate of in like the current intern program model?
I can refer to Ryan.
To Senate? Like, no, just retention rate to stay in the program, in the intern program.
Oh, in the program itself.
How, like, from the number of people that we get in the intern program by the time it ends, what's the number that like stayed?
So how many people drop out?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I can't speak to this year. I can speak from previous year as intern coordinator. All 25 stayed engaged the entire year. Not all 25 went on to stay engaged in SGA as a whole. They found other opportunities on campus that they wanted to get involved in, and I encourage them to follow wherever their passions lie.
You bet.
Do you know what the retention rate is for this year?
No. Annie, Hannah?
At the beginning, we had 34. Within a week, 2 of them had gotten acceptances from other organizations that they felt took priority over the intern program. They were more passionate about those. So we dropped those 2. After that, so beginning after like the first week, we have all 32 stayed throughout the entire program. 94% retention.
And going off of that, so with regards to the retention outside of, okay, so of the people that filed for, interns that filed for Senate, 10 got elected, but that's not to say many of the interns, from what I've heard, plan to seek out positions in executive judicial branches.
Further questions?
Can I make one more point? It's okay.
Probably not. Is there a question?
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I will say another point about the applications that come through. He wanted clarification, Bill. There are applications for every other position that you want to go for in SGA. So if we're worried about numbers and anything else, you either have to go through an elections process or an application to get a committee chair or a position on exec or judicial. So I think that's where our filtering comes through. When we have more students in this room that are actually going for those positions, instead of having one person applying to be whatever it might be, there'll be 7 or 10 that are actually engaged and know what they want to do. And the answer to them wanting to get involved is no longer you haven't been in SGA and you don't know what you're doing. It's okay, cool, you were in the intern program. Let's see what else you have to offer.
Is there any further questions? If not, is there any further debate in the negative? Yep, Senator Moranville.
As I walk down.
Okay. Most of you don't know me because I don't talk a lot in SGA, because I'm a listener. That's what I've always been good at. I've always been good at leading from behind. That's what I've been doing tonight. I've been listening, as should all of you. Last year when we voted to extend the cap, a lot of people disagreed with it. They decided that it wasn't going to be a good idea. But if you also remember, every intern that got up and talked that time decided that it was a good idea. They knew that the cap was important to extend because they wanted more people involved. But you also have to remember that also extended out into accepting 2 intern coordinators. So the more people, again, the more process. Here's what I want you to remember as we were going through this tonight. I was an intern last year. It was something that I felt very, very passionate about. Jordan was a great intern coordinator, and I loved every experience that I had in that. I met a lot of friends, and I made a lot of connections. Every person that has got up here tonight to talk in the negative has talked to you about the connections that they made in the intern program. Those connections aren't possible in such big groups. If you think about it, think about a lecture hall. When you're in a lecture hall, how many people do you know? Not very many. If you're in a smaller class, it helps you to make those connections so you have people to talk to, so you have people to keep going. I did the intern program to help. No one recommended me. I saw it posted, I saw an email, and I applied. That's what I did. This isn't a problem of there not being enough people in SGA. It's a problem of not having enough outreach to the people who we want to be in SGA too. We need to continue to do outreach to the people that you continue to say, we don't have enough people in here. Here's the thing with the attendance policy too, which has been talked about and talked about and talked about tonight. I remember the first few times that I came into the intern program, I also, as one of the previous speakers talked about, would wake up from naps and be like, I don't want to go, this is so late. But it reminded me that this is a time commitment. SGA is something that we're supposed to be in because we want to help people and we're willing to put our time and dedication into it. You can't expect to have a retention rate of a lot of people if you continue to make sure that this isn't a selective process. That's one of the problems that I've seen with this bill, is I think that it's a great idea to continue our outreach, to continue to make sure that people are willing and able to be in SGA. But again, it's a problem with outreach. It's a problem with maybe making this something different. Listen to what you're being told tonight. Not just from the people who agree with you, but the people who disagree. A lot of the people who have come up here and talked about the negatives of this are the interns. They're the ones who are in this program right now, who see the benefits of it. Why wouldn't you listen to the people who are in the program? The people who know what they're talking about too. Some of us may not have had the opportunity to be in the intern program, and I absolutely understand that. But at the same time, you have to understand that the people who are feel a sense of pride in what they've been doing. As the previous speaker said, they have a retention rate of 94%. It's a very high retention rate, and these are people who care about what they're doing. So make sure that you continue to care about what you're doing and care about the people who are talking to you. Don't just write it off because they disagree with something that you're saying. That's not what we're about. I stand out for questions.
Questions for Senator Moranville? Chair Nordstrom?
What are some ideas you have about how to better outreach to students to solicit the intern program?
So specifically for me, what I've done in the past is so when I found out about the intern program last year, it was something that I thought was really important. That's why I applied. I told my friends that I had already made in college and people that I had known beforehand and talked to them about applying. Maybe that didn't work out because maybe my friends didn't want to do it. But it's not the intent of just, oh, well, they didn't apply. It's actually going out there and being productive in what you're talking to people about. I'd been told about the intern program, but I wasn't the type of person who was going to push people into it. We, like, an idea for it, again, you know, people need emails, people need posters. As senators, it is our job to go out and talk to people about this intern program, about SGA. So I think, like, us being able to be out there and talking to people is important.
Further questions? Intern Malmberg?
So you said that it was important for us to listen to the voice of us interns, but do you think it's important to also get the voice of the people that didn't make it into the program?
Absolutely. One of my really good friends has been sitting in a lot in some of these meetings, and she didn't apply for the intern program, but she's been coming to our meetings, and it's something that's really important to her. And I think it's still important to listen to those people. So I think another suggestion that can always be made is talking to the people who may not have gotten into the intern program and inviting them back in. If we want to continue outreach, we have to make sure that we're talking to the people that want a voice in SGA who may not have been able to make it in through the process, but still want to be here, because that is important.
Further questions? Caucus Leader McDermott?
Just out of curiosity, have you talked to anyone who's done the AFP program that we just, whatever, AFP?
I'm not sure if I have, like, thinking about the AFP, I'm not sure if I've talked to people who have specifically been in it, because I wasn't sure who was in the AFP and who wasn't, or like who weren't. But like the people who have run and some of the people who were elected into some of the Senate positions this year are people that I have talked to and people that I've talked about SGA.
Further questions? If not, is there further positive debate? Senator Martin.
Okay. As the previous speaker mentioned, it is important to get a lot of different perspectives on this issue. And one of the perspectives that a previous speaker mentioned was the perspective of people who didn't make it into the intern program. I'm one of those people. While I'm not worried about me not making it into the intern program 3 years ago now, I am worried that there are a lot of students, in fact, approximately 90 students this year, that didn't make it into the intern program. I'm in the stark minority of those who got rejected and somehow decided to get back involved into SGA and make a difference. Following my year of not being in the intern program, I tried to run for Senate, and I tried to reach out to people who were involved in the intern program so I could have people to run with me. They all refused because they were all only friends with each other and they only wanted to run with people that were within the intern program. I again tried the next year, and they all told me that they already had running mates because there were already people who were involved in SGA. So I ended up having to run on my own to be able to force my way into the Senate. That's not the story for most students. Most students aren't going to be willing to put themselves out there to be able to get into this body on their own like that. If you look at the people who got elected this year, the vast majority ran in groups. It's really hard to do that when you don't know anybody within SGA, and those that you do know don't want to run with you. There's no reason why interns cannot form friends within a large group of 120 interns. I have friends in my DiffEQ class. There's like 200 people in there. Doesn't mean you can't make friends, doesn't mean you still can't make connections, doesn't mean you can't meet senators. There's also no reason why some arbitrary application and interview process that happens like in the first 2 weeks of school can determine who's going to be able to make an impact in SGA. I feel like I've made a pretty positive impact in SGA in my 2 years being a senator, and obviously that application process didn't work for me. We want people who are self-starters and who are going to stick around. And as a previous speaker mentioned, there's some 94% rate of interns staying involved. That's not at all true, because the 2 people who are from my fraternity this year that I referred to the intern program and told them to apply have not been here for weeks. Don't know where they are. They said they don't like SGA. Clearly, this current process is not working. It's broken. We're not an exclusive group. We're not an honorary. We're a group of all, yes, every single student at K-State. And we need to make sure that we are willing to accept anyone who comes into this body. yes, we say that we have open meetings, anyone can come. But if you look at the people in this room, the people in here are interns, senators, directors, a couple judicial members. That's it. This bill makes it clear that we want everybody's ideas in Senate. I stand open for questions.
Senators, questions for Senator Kelly? Sorry.
Pretty much the same.
My apologies. Questions for Senator Martin? It's been a long week. Senator or Intern King.
Question. Oh, question.
Yep. Sorry.
I waited. I was up there for 5 seconds.
Cool.
So, would you be open to? So, if we do have an increase in the amount of interns.
This is starting to sound hypothetical. Rules are rules. Yeah. Further, Chair Bickerid.
If I understood right, you said you applied twice. Is that correct?
I applied once, but I tried to run for Senate twice. And the first time I ended up dropping out of the race because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to make it by myself. I kind of felt like SGA had pretty much excluded me at that point.
So the question I had is, why did you choose to run after you've been denied in the intern process?
Because I realized that I still could make a difference. I'd reached out to specifically a former member of the Senate, Jordan DeLoach, and asked him, like, is there any way you think that I could actually make it? And he's kind of the one that inspired me to try. But I think the vast majority of people, like a previous speaker's brother, probably will never come back into this body after they're told you're not good enough to make it into SGA.
Further questions? Intern Putnam? Whitmer, sorry.
Do you think, as a student, you're entitled to be a member of Student Governing Association?
Yes, our Constitution actually says that every student is a member of SGA. So yes, I do.
Chair Bickerid?
Do you believe that?
I believe that's hypothetical. Intern Putnam.
Well, I don't have a hypothetical question.
You're asking his opinion, though.
I'm curious if you think, yeah, I'm asking a question related to...
Questions should be to clarify debate. Yep. Feel free to come up and debate, though. Senator Valdez.
How many committees have you been a part of this term?
I don't
actually know the answer.
That pertains to his debate, though.
I think like 5.
Okay. Intern King.
In your debate, did you clarify whether or not the intern coordinators would increase in number? Would there be more intern coordinators?
This bill keeps intern coordinators at 2. It distinguishes 1 to be in charge of the short-term programming, the class that's similar to the AFP that happened this year, and the other would be more in charge of the mentorship and rotational program, which is more similar to the intern program in its current form.
Yes, I can't see a name tag, sorry.
It's okay. My question was regarding about your run and how you said that the interns didn't want to run with you. I ran for Senate this year. I was an intern. I didn't run with any other interns for the College of Business. But my main thing is, this is more just like asking you to clarify, but there's cliques like in college. Like there's cliques just like generally, and maybe
Okay.
even if those people that
Can you get to the question, please?
I just don't think that. I guess I just don't have fun.
Yeah, I would say that sounds like debate.
I'm sorry. I'll go up and debate.
Time for questions has expired. Speaker Pro Tempore Mignani. It is moved and seconded to extend question time by 5 minutes. If there are no objections, Senator Keekly.
Why are the cliques in SGA unique from other cliques such as those in fraternities?
I think the difference is that a fraternity you pay thousands of dollars to be a part of, and SGA is free and open to all members of the student body, but clearly in its current form is not open to all members of the student body. Otherwise, we'd have more folks here that aren't interns and senators.
Intern Coordinator Markle?
This isn't a question, but it's not directed at him. Can I just say it, or is that not allowed right now?
Is it a point of information, or is it a question directed at someone else? Or?
It's really just like at like everyone to like make sure that we're staying focused on what the main like debate needs to be on the bill itself, and not getting too sidetracked with like other things.
That sounds like a good point to debate. All right, further questions? Are there any further questions for Senator Martin? Thank you. Oh.
I submitted a question for Senator Martin.
Oh, okay, cool. In that case, we are looking for negative debate. Senator Dahl?
Can I call previous question?
You can, yes. Is there a second? It is moved and seconded to call the that is like 7 and 8. It has to be even? Great. So we will allow for one more negative debate, and then I will hear your motion. Is there any further negative debate? If there is no further negative debate, Senator Dahl?
I move we call previous question. Right.
It is moved and seconded to call the previous question. All those in favor of the motion to call the previous question, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. In the opinion of the speaker, that is a 2/3 majority in favor of the motion to call the previous question.
Jonathan, can you explain what previous question is? Because I have no idea, personally.
So we can't do a revote, but I can explain previous question.
Because I feel like that's a misvote.
If someone voted on the prevailing side, they could reconsider. But the motion to reconsider on this handy little handout tells you that the motion to reconsider stops all debate, and then it moves immediately to a vote.
You can call division if you want.
You can call yeah.
Wait, what? No, so what is the previous question?
Sorry.
I call division.
Like the definition.
That makes sure everyone knows that there's one.
So, someone's called
Yeah.
Yes.
But somebody has
We
asked-
just voted on it.
Somebody has asked the definition of what the previous question is. Not what we're doing a revote. They just
Yeah.
want to know like, what's the definition.
Yes. Yep. We just voted on it. And it passed. We've had someone ask if we ask for the definition, ask if we can revote. Because I don't think we can revote.
Why?
We've had someone, so we just voted on previous question. We've had someone ask to vote, ask for what the motion means, and if we can revote.
And then call division.
And then call the
It passed.
He announced the voice
But I can still hear the division, right?
Yeah, so you just wanted to do a hand vote?
They're wanting to do it. We will do a division, and I will clarify what the whole thing means. So the motion, previous question, is a privileged motion, which is 2/3 vote, without debate, meaning that we immediately cease debate on the main motion and move into a vote on that main motion. So a vote in favor of previous question means that we're going to stop debate on the Bill 77 and move immediately into a vote on Bill 77. A vote in the negative means that one wishes to continue debate on Bill 77. Any questions? Sweet. All right. With that, since division has been called, we'll move into a counted vote on Bill 77. All those in favor, not on Bill 77. We will move into a counted vote specifically on the motion for previous question, which will end debate on Bill 77 and move us into a vote on Bill 77 if passed. All those in favor of the motion for previous question, please raise your right hand.
Proxies get 2 hands.
Proxies get 2 hands. Correct. Raise them high, please. All right. All of those, you can put your hand down. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. All right. By a vote of 44 to 5, previous question has been called for. Therefore, we will go into a roll call vote on Bill 77.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. How
Yes,
many
sir.
votes does it take to pass?
38. Yep. Two-thirds of those selected and qualified. That does include proxies. Yes. Yes. Sweet.
Bill 77?
Yep.
All right. Adams.
Pass.
Okay. Akers.
Pass by proxy.
Alberts.
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Arnaldi. Bergston.
No.
Bowler.
Yes.
Bothwell.
No.
Bickerood.
Yes.
Cafera. Carpenter.
No.
Dinez.
Yes.
DeMoranville.
No.
Dahl.
No.
Elliott.
Yes.
Flores.
No.
Fuller.
No.
Garcia.
Yes.
Garrity.
No by proxy.
Grandy. Hart.
Yes.
Hendrickson.
No.
Hyen.
Yes by proxy.
Horton.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes by proxy.
Jewell.
Gonna pass.
Keekly.
No.
Kallenberger.
Yes.
Kelly.
Pass.
Kidd.
Yes by proxy.
Klein.
Yes.
Maples. Markle.
Pass.
Martin.
Yes.
McDermott.
Yes.
McIntyre.
Yes.
Mertens. Meyer.
Yes by proxy.
Nichols. Nedry.
Yes.
Nordstrom.
Yes.
Ogren.
Yes.
Orth.
Yes.
Peckert. Penny.
Yes.
Poon.
Yes.
Pitts.
Yes.
Pruitt.
Yes.
Rostenpour.
Yes.
Tedrow.
No.
Chumlin.
No.
Thomas.
Yes.
Tuttle.
No.
Valdez.
Yes.
Works.
Yes.
Zyke.
No.
Zwick.
Yes.
All right. Adams.
Am I allowed to pass the second time? Or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, you can. I'll come back. Akers.
Yes for proxy.
Arnaldi. Who else? Jewell. Do you want to pass again?
Can I abstain?
Huh?
Can I abstain?
Sure.
People just need to understand abstain is a no when a 2/3 is required. It's the same effect, which is okay. That's no judgment. Just abstaining still affects the 38 vote.
So, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Kelly.
Pass.
Markle.
No.
Nedry? No, you already voted. Sorry.
But yeah.
Okay.
Is there anyone who's not passed a second time? Or voted? Am I correct in assuming that we only have 2 votes left outstanding?
Yes. Yeah.
3. Who's my third? She abstained. Yep. Those are my two outstanding votes.
Yes. Okay. Adams, yes. Jewel. Oh wait, no, you abstained. Kelly.
No.
All right. So.
What is?
Hold on. So Bill, just so I can get the number right, abstain. Do I need to not like? Do I need to put like a no, or do I keep it blank?
Put a little A.
Oh, genius. Cool. All right. So with the vote of 32 to 16 to 1, failed.
Yep, that is correct. Yes, sir.
I move we refer this bill back to special. I move to reconsider.
Second. It is moved and seconded to reconsider Bill 77.
Does that restart debate, Jonathan?
I am double checking if that motion is debatable.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll move it.
No debate on the motion, but on the bill.
That would move us back into debate on the bill, yes. Is that debatable? Reconsider is debate only apply. So Bill, on that little card there, it says debate only applies if it's a debatable motion. So yes, it would be debatable. Sweet. So with that, first right to debate, Chair Kelly.
This motion makes it eligible to send back to committee. Like, we're not actually going to go through and debate it again. Like, we're just sending it back to committee.
Without completely denying it?
Right. Okay. Right, exactly.
All right. Is there any questions on Senator Garcia?
So this is a question. Well, because you said that there's only one more meeting for special committee. So how would you guys be able to reconsider the bill if you said there's only one more?
Great question. I have no idea.
We have 2 Senate meetings left, so it could go back and then, I guess I wasn't honest.
Yep. Are there any further questions for Chair Kelly? Intern King?
Is there any reason why we didn't?
Keep going.
Why is there any reason why we didn't defer to committee before we voted?
No, I think it has to be more specific to the motion to reconsider.
On this motion, why are we sending it back to committee? This motion, why are we doing this? Why was the motion made after we voted? Yeah.
I understand the question. Yeah, so I thought it would pass, and it didn't. So here we are. Any other questions?
Is that a question?
I have a motion.
What?
Oh wait, we have to vote on.
We still haven't voted on whether or not we should reconsider.
Yes, that is correct. What is your motion? Awesome. Is there further questions for Chair Kelly on his motion to reconsider? If there is not, is there any debate in the negative on the motion to reconsider? Is there? Yes, go ahead.
So everyone understands what's happening. When a vote happens and it fails or passes, a person who votes on the prevailing side, the winning side, may move to reconsider the motion, which basically nullifies the vote and goes back to the point before the vote. It's only available to someone who votes on the winning side. So people will pass to see if it's going to pass or fail, gauge the room, go back and try to change it to make something else work. It's fairly common practice. We haven't done it this year, but it's not crazy. So what would happen if reconsider passes, then you would go right back to debate. Most likely a motion would be made dispensing with this back to committee, and then all options are back on the table. It could stay in committee, it could come out the same, it could come out different. It's up to you. Completely okay.
All right. With that, are there any questions for Advisor Harlan, specifically on the parliamentary side of this whole thing? If not, is there any debate on the motion to reconsider? There's no further debate on the motion to reconsider. We will go into a vote on that motion. All those in favor of the motion to reconsider, please raise your right hand. All right, you can put your hands down. All those opposed to the motion to reconsider, please raise your right hand. Raise them high, please. All right. So, based on my math, that does constitute a passing vote for the motion to reconsider at a vote of 36-7. Therefore, we will re-enter debate on Bill 77. Chair Andrus.
I mean, we refer this back to committee.
It is moved and seconded to refer Bill 77 back to the Special Committee on Student Senate Membership. First right to debate, Chair Andrus.
I think the worst thing that can happen is that it comes back and we vote no on it again. If that's the outcome, then that's the outcome. Give them another chance to take some of your guys' suggestions and fix it.
Are there any questions for Chair Andrus on her debate? If not, is there any debate in the negative on the motion to refer Bill 77 back to committee? Further debate in the positive? Any further debate at all? If there's no further debate, we will proceed into a vote on the motion to refer Bill 77 back to the Special Committee on Student Senate Membership. All those in favor of this motion, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, please raise your right hand. In the opinion of the Speaker, that is a majority vote, and therefore it will be referred back to the Special Committee on Student Senate Membership. Awesome. With that, I am going to pass the gavel to Speaker Pro Tempore Magnani, and if the author of Bill 78 would please come forward at the same time, that'd be great.
Buckle up, this one's gonna be just as long.
Yeah.
Which one? I move that we
Bockwell.
I move that we hold Bill 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, and 84 for bulk roll call. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to bulk roll bills 70, 78 all the way to 84. Is there a second? Second. All right.
All changes have been made.
All right. First right to debate.
So this is the on-campus allocation to the African Student Union. They're hosting their annual African Night. I'm bringing in Dr. Zafirin Diabre to speak about social mobilization, a tool for political freedom in Africa. We voted on a committee. We funded them $9,750 for their events, and it's expected to bring, I think, like 600 students, which is incredible for an event like that. And yeah, I hope you guys vote yes.
Any questions on the debate? Seeing none. Any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debates at all? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to Bill 79. Would the author please come forward? Any changes been made?
All changes have been made.
First right to debate.
Yep, so it's an allocation for an on-campus request to the International Coordinating Council. They're planning International Week. Some of the events consist of the International Fashion Show, International Game Day, International Parade, and the International Cultural Exhibition, and then additionally a talent show. The allocation is a total of $1,351 for both promotions and rent.
Any questions for Chair Orth? Seeing none. Any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debate at all? Seeing none, we'll move on to Bill 80. Will the author please come forward?
Anyone else thinks it's freezing cold in here?
Yeah.
All right, I'm not the only one.
Any corrections been made?
No corrections.
First right to debate.
Yeah, I think this is a great bill for the Kinesiology Association for graduate students when they travel to San Diego next month. They're going to learn a lot of good things there and meet with a lot of smart people about things that can really save people's lives. So please vote yes.
Any questions on Senator Bergeston's debate? Seeing none, any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debates at all? We'll go ahead and move on to Bill 81. Will the author please come forward?
All right, get ready for painfully boring travel allocation bills. Oh, we did make a correction.
Any corrections made?
Yeah, we spelled Rotaract correctly on all lines that it was on.
All right, first right to debate.
Okay, so they are traveling to the Rotary International Convention in Canada, actually, and there's going to be a lot of workshops to focus on philanthropy, leadership, team building, all kinds of stuff like that. The request was $1,000, and we recommended $975.
Any questions on Chair Chamberlain's debate? Seeing none, any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debates at all? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to Bill 82. 82. Will the author please come forward?
Yeah, no corrections on this one.
First right to debate.
So this is the travel allocation to the Minorities in Agricultural, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences. They are also traveling to their national conference. Lots of workshops in this one too, and there's also some professional networking. The request was $1,000, and our recommendation was $1,000.
Any questions on Chair Chamberlain's debate? Seeing none, any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debates at all? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to Bill 83. Will the author please come forward?
No corrections on this one.
First right to debate.
Yeah, so this is the travel allocation to the Plant Pathology Graduate Student Club. I think this is a really great opportunity for them to experience some industry side of their profession as opposed to just the classroom aspect. Yeah, so I'd vote you to, or request that you vote yes for it.
Any questions on Chair Chamberlain's debate? Seeing none, any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debates at all? Seeing none, will the author of Bill 84 please come forward? Any corrections be made?
No corrections on this one.
Once again, first right to debate.
All right, so this is the travel allocation to the Student Alumni Board. They are also going to a conference. It's the Council for Advancement and Support of Education Affiliated Student Advancement Programs. Wow. So I think this is a really neat conference. They were actually telling us that this is where the idea for K-State Proud came from. So being able to bring that and other campaigns back to campus is influential.
Any questions on Chair Chamberlain's debate? Seeing none, any debates in the negative? Any debates in the positive? Any debates at all? Seeing none, we'll go on and do a vote roll for bills 78 all the way to 84. Please listen for your names carefully.
Okay, Adams.
Yes to all.
Akers.
Yes to all by proxy.
Alberts.
Yes to all.
Anders. Arnaldi. Bergston.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thanks for the clarification. Bowler.
Yes to all.
Bothwell.
Yes to all.
Bickerud. Cafera. Carpenter.
Yes to all.
Dinez.
Yes to all.
DeMoranville.
Yes to all.
Dahl.
Yes to all.
Elliott,
Yes to all.
Flores,
Yes to all.
Fuller,
Yes to all.
Garcia,
Yes to all.
Garrity, Grandy, Harp,
Yes to all.
Hendrickson,
Yes to all.
Hyen,
Yes to all by proxy.
Horton,
Yes to all.
Hughes,
Yes to all by proxy.
Jewell,
Yes to all.
Keekly,
Yes to all.
Kallenberger,
Yes to all.
Kelly,
Yes to all.
Kidd,
Yes to all by proxy.
Klein,
Yes to all.
Maples, Markle, Martin,
Yes to all.
McDermott,
Yes to all.
McIntyre,
Yes to all.
Mertens, Meyer, Nichols, Nedry,
Yes to all.
Nordstrom,
Yes to all.
Ogren,
Yes to all.
Orth,
Yes to all.
Peckert, Penny,
Yes to all.
Papoon,
Yes to all.
Pitts,
Yes to all.
Pruitt,
Yes to all.
Rostenpour, Tedrow,
Yes to all.
Chumlin,
Yes to all.
Thomas,
Yes to all.
Tuttle,
Yes to all.
Valdez,
Yes to all.
Works,
Yes to all.
Zyke,
Yes to all.
Swick.
Yes to all.
All right, passes with 43 to 0.
All right, so our next item on the agenda is introduction of minor allocations. Would the author of Bill 85 please come?
Introduction of what?
Introduction to legislation, sorry. Would the author of Bill 85 please come forward? Is there a motion for Bill 85? Sorry. Senator Papoon.
I move that all authors or speakers for the rest of introduction legislation have the right, if they so choose, to summarize.
It's been moved and seconded that the authors be allowed to summarize, but I'm still seeking for a motion for Bill 85.
I move to consider Bill 85.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 85. Would the author please come forward?
Hi, this bill is the increase in the student health privilege fee, which is Lafine Health Center. I'm going to read all the whereas clauses so you can get a little insight before next week. By the Privilege Fee Committee, whereas the Privilege Fee Committee reviewed the Lafine Health Center audit for fiscal years 2014 through 2017 and listened to the presentation and proposal from Lafine Health Center for an increase. Whereas the Privilege Fee Committee reviewed and the results from the student use of Lafine Health Center comparisons to other Big 12 schools and the Lafine Patient Satisfaction Survey that was completed over the past 3 years, along with student use statistics. It has been the philosophy of students in the university to spread the bulk of costs to provide healthcare among the entire student body to keep the upfront cost of healthcare affordable for students. Whereas Lafine Health Center offers a comprehensive, well-rounded, and highly utilized program which can respond to most student needs for healthcare. Whereas Lafine Health Center asked for a 3% increase year over year for the next 3 years to be geared towards mental health, outside recruitment, and to stay competitive in the coming years, and for non-student revenues. Whereas the Privilege Fee Committee voted 8 to 0 to recommend to the Student Senate a 1.5% increase year over year for the next 3 years, as enumerated in the following Privilege Fee Agreement.
Are there any corrections to the bill? Senator Martin.
Line 9, Privilege Fee Committee should be capitalized.
We'll get that. Any other-
Also in line 11, instead of the past year, I believe it should be the past 3 years.
Senator Flores.
I think there's 2 H's in the word on the first line. So increasing the student health privilege fee, there's 2 H's there.
Thanks.
Are there any other corrections? Seeing none. Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you. Would the author is there a motion for Bill 86? Senator Bothwell?
I move Bill 86.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 86. Would the author please come forward? Author? Anybody? Thank you, Martin.
It's not my All right. So Bill 1718-86, fiscal year 2019 request for special allocations to academic competition teams. So
The needs of academic competition teams pretty much every year go greater than what's specifically allocated from privilege fee, so $60,000 this year. So our committee thought it would be prudent to specially allocate $15,000 extra dollars for fiscal year 2019 to be able to fund the academic competition teams adequately. I'd like to read the whereas clause on line 18, whereas Chapter 21, Section 0102, subsection C, Clause 1E of the Kansas State University Student Governing Statute state a reserve for contingencies account shall be available for special allocations by the Student Senate. That's where this would be coming from, that reserve account special allocation.
Any corrections? Seeing none. Any questions? Seeing none. Is there a motion for Bill 87? Senator Papoon?
I move Bill 87.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider Bill 87. Would the author please come forward?
Yeah, so I have one correction off the bat. This says by Special Committee on Academic Competition Team Funding. It should be by the Academic Competition Team Standing Committee. It's not a special committee anymore. So this bill basically details the work that our committee did over the last 3 weeks. It was a really comprehensive process where each of the teams listed here, it goes on to a second page, all presented for us and told us the reasons that they needed funding and what they're going to be using their funding for. And then we used an algorithm to be able to recommend each of them, not all of the money that they asked for, but most of them at least some money. And I encourage you to go through line by line looking at each of those teams before the next meeting when we actually vote on this. It's been the ideas of the committee as well as most of the university that these academic competition teams provide a really great resource for students to get hands-on experience before they go into industry, things that they can't get necessarily in the classroom.
Any corrections? Any questions at all? Director Kuchera?
Could you speak to the 4 groups that didn't receive funding?
Yeah, so those academic competition teams are really interesting in nature in the fact that those teams don't have members year-round. Instead, professors recruit members like a couple days before the competition, basically, like maybe like a week before, and then they go to, I believe that their competition is in Nebraska. All of those different competitions are all at the same event in a city in Nebraska. And we felt like because of the fact that in the past they hadn't sent some of these teams and the professors that came and presented for us didn't seem very confident that they were going to even field those teams, we felt like it probably wasn't the best idea to fund them. And we've been, or hopefully Andrew has been working maybe with Bill to think of alternative ways for those groups to receive allocations.
Defer your speaking rights.
Can you defer your speaking rights?
Yeah, I defer my speaking rights to Andrew.
Yes. So we're gonna. So those groups are. So long story. One registered late. One did not show up at all. The other 2 sent professors, which you're supposed to send a student representative to request for these funds. And so they don't have any members, like Jordan said. They typically just recruit really quick in the fall, get 6 or 4 people, however many they need for their team, and just go to the competition. So we felt that since there weren't any members, and this was the first time they had ever requested, we thought it was best for them to go through the travel allocations committee and see if they're able to pull together a team there versus spending our money here and taking it away from teams that definitely will spend it. I know it always comes up in the fall when we send our, I guess we do there's a bill at the beginning where we send everything that didn't get spent back to our reserves accounts. And it's always a question about why that number is so high. And so this is one of the means that we're using to keep it low by putting the teams that we feel will will not have a team and will not spend their money through the travel allocations. And yes, I am working with them to make sure that they know that.
Are there any other further questions? Senator Garcia.
Can I refer to the bill before since they're kind of related?
Come again?
Can I refer to the bill that before since they're kind of related? Like when I asked my question about this bill.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. So.
Yeah, just ask. But you can ask a question.
Well, then I'll ask it about this bill. So, I'm just confused by the 75,000. So, is that after the other amount is added? Like.
Yeah. So the Privilege Fee Committee earlier allocated. I think this happened last year. Allocated $60,000.
75,000 is based off how much the Privilege Fee Committee gives us this year.
Okay.
The 15,000 in Bill 86 will bring it up to a total of 90,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other further question? Senator Garcia.
So would that then add, like, is this the final numbers or would it change after the other bill is passed?
I refer to Treasurer Pushin.
So, thanks, Jordan, for reading this for me. Next week, there will be 2 copies of Bill 87 in the agenda. One will have the $75,000 numbers, one will have the $90,000 numbers. And so, what will happen is, if Bill 86 passes or fails, we'll select which one to go with. We'll label those like 87A, 87.
Any other further questions? Senator Bukerid.
Were there any academic competition teams from the College of Education?
I don't believe so. If anybody has a
College of Education.
I refer to Senator Carpenter. Senator Carpenter. Yeah.
No.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you. Is there a motion to consider Bill 89? Senator Horton.
Second.
It's been moved and second to consider Bill 89. Would the author please come forward?
Okay, last one here. So kind of like.
We skipped 88.
Yep.
We can do 89. Where am I going?
Okay.
Sorry. I apologize.
Thank you. Okay. So the student, I'm trying to remember exactly what I spoke to this body last about student engagement, but student engagement committee kind of based off of some of the things that we've done this year, especially with the workshop and inviting student groups to that and kind of the success of that event. We have been having continual meetings with the Center for Student Involvement Office, and kind of through that we realized that there was a lot of overlap in some of the initiatives that are going on in the Student Engagement Committee and then also in the Center for Student Involvement and their challenges with reaching out to student groups. And so kind of with that, most of the changes to student engagement is going to be involved with whoever ends up being the chair next year, me just like transitioning them into that position. But we did want to codify in the bylaws just a couple different relationships. So I would like to refer you guys to line 74, the executive director of the Center for Student Involvement, the executive director of the Center for Student Involvement or designee who shall serve as a non-voting member, and that would be on the Student Engagement Committee. And then the only other change that we had is on line 108. The Student Engagement Committee chair shall serve on the Center for Student Involvement Committee. I don't actually know the name of their committee, so if someone has that, I would definitely want to change that in this bill, but no one seemed to give me a clear idea of what the name of that like administrative committee was in the CSI department. But with that, those are just kind of the two things we wanted to codify in the bylaws that would just help that relationship be smoother and kind of more concrete for next year. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any corrections to the bill? Senator Andres?
This is super obnoxious, but there are 2 spaces in between serve and on line 108. Sorry.
I will take that into consideration.
Any other corrections that need to be made to the bill? Seeing none, are there any questions about the bill? Seeing none, thank you. Paul, Chair Naderi?
I move Bill 88.
Oh, is there a motion for Bill 88? Second, it's been moved and second to consider Bill 88. Would the author please come forward? I apologize.
All right, so this is the allocation to the club sports teams, Go Sports. Anyway, so as you can see, we had about $237,000 in requests this year, and we had a budget of $67,000 total. Our committee recommended a total of $61,920. So that, if you do the math, is a little over $5,000 going into our reserve account. The reason for this is that at any time, a team can petition reserves if they qualify for nationals and get extra funding, basically. And a lot of these budgets and requests were based on them all making it to nationals. So we thought it was better to hold that funding within our committee and then disperse it out as needed. And then those reserves are also there in the off chance that a new team is started and they need seed money for the year. Yeah.
Any corrections to the bill? Seeing none, any questions to the bill? Seeing none, thank you. And with that, we have come to an end of exhausting our agenda for tonight. So with that, next item on, I am going to open period speakers, second open period speakers, Director Kuchera.
First of all, thank you for staying through the meeting. These are the meetings that build character that you will remember long after you're no longer senator. So thanks for sticking around. I'm just going to run through the things that were in my report. The 2 surveys that I've been talking about for the last few weeks, they're closing tomorrow at 5 p.m. We still need participants on the committee survey. Out of everyone in all 3 branches, we only have 25 responses. So we could really use some help on that. For those candidates, that's already been talked about. Graduate Student Council has a fundraiser coming up for Wednesday, March 28th. I'll get the time, and it will be sent out by President, Vice President, Twitter, and Cat's covered. Many of the volunteers will be graduating, so if you're not going to be continuing this body, or if you are, it's a great way to get involved, volunteer, and get back to the community, helping out students. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be around after.
Are there any other further open period speakers? Treasurer Pushin.
Hey, ACT is going to meet right up front here, right after Senate for 5 minutes to talk about our legislation and cover it back too. So, those of you who are on ACT, I'll be there. I would appreciate it.
Any questions for Treasurer Pushin? Seeing none, any other open period, second period speakers? Senator Kelly.
I just want to make a quick announcement. So again, we had a lot of debate. It went really well. I think a lot of points were expressed, right? Following this meeting, I wanted to let any of you know that want to be involved in the process moving forward, which I would encourage you all to be. I will be sitting like right up here, probably for quite some time, be in CSI, probably the rest of the night, and I would love to find a time that I can meet with all of you if the special committee times don't work. So I'd love to get your contact information to have a conversation.
Any questions for Chair Kelly? Seeing none, are there any other second open period speakers? Chair Chamberlain.
Yeah, if you're on travel allocations, just hang back for 2 minutes.
Any questions? Seeing none. Any Advisor Holland?
So I didn't mean to scare everyone from asking any questions. That was not my goal. I just think that we need to respect people's opinions when they're debating and then debate ourselves, because that's how we share those ideas, not through the questions. So with everything that happened though, that's what should happen here. People sharing their ideas. If things aren't passing or passing, you use the system that's in place to try to achieve what's best. So, reconsidering a motion might seem really odd. It's not that abnormal. One night we did it 3 times in the same meeting for the same piece of legislation. That was odd. So I appreciate everyone who shared their feelings. I would encourage everyone to find, I don't think anyone feels like everything is perfect here. I think that's pretty obvious. Everyone talks about there's room for improvement in some ways. So just do the work to find what that compromise is, but we still have to try to improve the things that we've identified that are weaknesses.
Any questions for Advisor Holland? Any other second open period speakers? I have one. As you guys saw earlier on, I did a presentation about the DPC and the possible solutions. Once again, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be here over spring break, so if you want to meet up, discuss, and meet, please let me know. I would love to get as much input as possible. With that, are there any questions for me? Director Kuchera.
Where are the slides located?
I'll upload them on ArcSync tonight. Any other questions? Seeing none. Reference of legislations. If everyone could just stay quiet a little bit, then we'll be out of here. Bill 77 will be referred back to the Special and Membership Committee, and then Bills 85 will be referred back to the privilege fee, and then Bills 86, 87, and 88 will be referred back to the Travel Allocations Committee, and then lastly, Bills 89 will be referred back to the Student Engagement Committee. And with that, once again, please listen for your names as we go into roll call.
Okay, I'm gonna go as quick as possible. Adams. Here. Albert. Here. Anders. Here. Arnaldi. Bergston. Here. Bowler. Here. Bothwell. Here. Pickerood. Here. Cafera. Carpenter. Here. Dinez. Here. DeMoranville. Here. Dahl. Here. Elliott. Here. Flores. Here. Fuller. Here. Garcia. Here. Grandy. Harp. Here. Hendrickson. Here. Hyen. Hughes.
Here by proxy.
Oh wait, sorry. I don't need to call you. My bad. Horton. Here. Jewell. Here. Keekly. Here. Kallenberger. Here. Kelly. Here. Klein. Here. Maples. Markle. Martin. Here. McDermott. Here. McIntyre. Mertens. Meyer. Nichols. Needry. Here. Nordstrom. Here. Ogren. Here. Orth. Here. Penny. Here. Papoon. Here. Peckert. Pitts. Here. Pruitt. Here. Rostenpour. Swanson or Tedrow. Thomas. Here. Chumlin. Here. Tuttle. Here. Valdez. Here. Works. Here. Zyke. Here. Zwick. Here. Cruz. Here. Dahl. Gammon. Here. Grover. Here. Hornung. Houghton. Here. Jabin. Karanja. Kellerman. King. McAdam. Malmberg. Here. McCandless. Here. Meinhardt. Here. Pelton. Here. Putnam. Here. Roth. Salverino. Shao. Wheeler. Here. Whitmer. Here. Witzke. All right, thanks, guys.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Papoon?
Move to adjourn the same time, same place in 2 weeks.
It's been moved and second to adjourn the meeting, same time, same please. Everybody stay safe. Let me not catch you on MTV. All those in favor? Aye. And all those who oppose. Have fun. Don't let me catch you on MTV.
It's
Oh, yes, what can you guys
Keep from like yelling. I'm literally at comic next morning at 9. I told my mom I wasn't driving home. I can't.
What does that mean?
Heather said she'd explain. I don't know.
Like, once you hit 5 6, and like,
I don't know. I don't
But like, how come? But yeah, I would just say in your training, make sure that that's part of it, establishing that relationship. You can't have your so like the big and then put in there like the morning.
Oh, yeah, I was there for privilege.
Oh, yeah. That would be useful for that person.
Other side goes there right? It's kind of like you're getting more high, so like.
What do you have?
Yeah.